Okay, so today we're going to be doing a video on the Plundering guild cards and their tier list. So we have S, it's going to be the same as DM was and all the other ones, where SS, we think it's overpowered. S, it's almost always a run most of the time. It's really good in a lot of situations. A is like, it's solid, but not always a run. B is like, sometimes you'll maybe run it. C is like, almost never run in a deck because it's just not that good. F is like, it probably, like, the lower half probably actively hurts you, and other times it's just really bad. But we're doing this video with Spanish. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Spanishflee999. You may have seen me floating around in the taverns. Your friendly local moderator. So feel free to say hi if you see me. Credentials. I don't play many tournaments, but whenever I do, I tend to always place pretty good. So top 8, top 2, whatever. But yeah, I like to think I'm pretty decent at deck building and assessing cards. So, and I think Wonky agrees, having
Yeah.
invited me to this today.
Yeah, I feel like Spanish is my equal in how good we are at the game. It's hard to tell sometimes where that is exactly, but I think he's really good as well from my experience. But today
Yeah.
we're gonna start off with talking about was it Adventurous Farmhand? I haven't had enough experience with the cards yet to remember their names exactly, but
So we start with the Adventurous Farmhand. Probably best off to read off what they do for those that are listening. So Adventurous Farmhand is the 1 mana 1/2 with the entrance ability. If you have 4+ coins, summon an Eager Farmer. An Eager Farmer being a 3/2 mana. You may notice it from the neutral cards. It also has Enhance, gain +1/+1 for 1 coin.
yeah, this card, I actually like this card a lot. So, by base, he's a 1/2 for 1 mana, so it's pretty good in that. So you can use him as early game fodder if you can't get the coins. But the coins isn't that hard to get because you can use like Dead or Alive first turn and then play like 2 of him second turn, which is a really strong play to get 2 1/2s and then 3/2s. He is.
I think it's kind of like, if I'm kind of with you on that. I like this card. So 1 mana for 1/2 is kind of above rate, but the fact that you can give it +1/+1 for just 1 coin means if you're playing a plundering guild, like the plundering guild faction is your primary faction, this can always just be a 1 mana 2/3, which is just fantastic. That's not even to mention though that later in the game you just have 1 mana 4/4 split over 2 bodies, or 1 mana 5/5 split over 2 bodies if you enhance it. Um, but the interaction with Dead or Alive, which I guess we'll get to in a bit, obviously it's a little down the track, but the interaction with Dead or Alive being you be able to play 2/2/3s on turn 2 is also fantastic.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about him is getting that 4 coins can be a pain sometimes. Because,
That's it.
yeah, generally you're gonna want to spend your coins because spending your coins is worth it. Because coins can be converted into stat value, like in this guy. I don't usually enhance him. You're probably only gonna enhance him if you're not going for the entrance. That's what I would say. Because, like, you would have to have 5 coins to get both his enhance and his entrance, which is quite a
Yeah.
hefty amount of coins to store up early game.
Yeah. So like, you're saying you'd be playing it on turn 5 to get the 5/5 value, which isn't the end of the world, but the great part about this card is it feels like it's really perfectly fit in a mid-range deck, in that if you really want, you can play it early to hold off aggro. 1 mana 1/2 is a body they have to work through. And if not, if you top deck it later, it's a 1 mana 2 bodies that puts stuff on the board. So I kind of like this card in that situation. It probably falls off in power compared to some of the higher mana things, but with any luck, you won't be going that late into the game.
Well, yeah, and also a 3/2 eager farmer, it comes in handy quite often because there's so many 3 health units in the game that you could kill off with that eager farmer.
That's it.
Because, like, I think
Um,
I think eager farmer is underestimated sometimes because it is by default it is a bone brute counter just without it having to set up. Because bone brute on bone brute doesn't counter itself intuitively as you would think, if you got
okay.
that amped buff going on.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So where would you put this card then?
I feel like it's pretty solid, but It's not like
I'd agree. I'd be thinking AT here.
yeah, I think A. I think A is a good spot for it. It's pretty strong. It's not. It's pretty situational if you're gonna get that 4 coins. It feels kind of bad when you don't, but it's not entirely bad if you don't get it.
That's it. The floor on this card is very good. Um, you'll likely find better things to fit in your deck. But there's lots of consideration you can put towards this card that you probably you probably will be running it. So I think A is a good spot for it.
Okay, so we can talk about adventurers. So they're quite they're important to talk about when you're talking about the noble strat because they're a noble card. So any card that is like the cards that buff nobles in your deck and then in your hand are adventurers are nobles. So you got to keep that in mind. But adventurers are 2/2s that are nobles that when drawn they summon itself and you draw another card.
That's it. So we'll probably talk more about adventurers as we talk more about cards that make them. But the big part to remember about adventurers is that yes, they're nobles. So the biggest synergy you'll find with them is likely in conjunction with nobles matters cards.
Yeah,
Which
you're probably not playing them outside of a noble deck.
that's it. Which coincidentally we have coming up next.
I don't think we are gonna uh put this on the list, but
Yeah,
it's
this
good.
being it's more a token card. I don't think we yeah, the card itself doesn't really get rated, but it's important to acknowledge it and what it does.
Yeah, but we have I can't even read the name of the card on here. It was like the
Uh
Armory card.
that's it. This is Altaran's Armory. So this is a 3 mana spell. It gives nobles in your deck +0/+1, and nobles in your hand ranged. It also you can also enhance it to give +1/+1 instead of +0/+1 for 1 coin.
Okay, so the good parts about this card is that ranged is really good, but the cards that you can put ranged on in your hand are limited on like how good they are. I mean, I guess you have like Prince's Champion, which is a fun combo, but not that consistent. But the biggest part about this card is buffing all your nobles in your deck,
That's
which
it.
it's slow. This is a slow card that doesn't affect you right away.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed the exact word I would use to describe this card is that it's slow. Um, so for 3 mana, while you are buffing the cards in your hand and your deck, you're not doing anything this turn. You know, you're not removing anything on their field. You're not developing your field. You're kind of playing into your strategy, but you're taking a turn off to do it if you do it on turn 3. So you need to have a big payoff if you're doing something like that. And unfortunately, I don't think giving the buffs to the nobles in your deck and the nobles in your hand to ranged is kind of worth it.
Yeah,
The best part about this card, in my opinion, though, is the nobles in your hand getting ranged, because that's the kind of thing that you can play around. Whereas giving the nobles in your deck +0/+1 or +1/+1 is you still have a level of randomness about whether you actually will see that value because you have to draw the card.
yeah, it like on paper it does seem really good, but I think it just falls flat sometimes when you're trying to actually win fast or trying to push off your opponent so that you can keep on playing the game.
That's it. So having said that, I think if you do go to try and play a noble deck, you'll probably likely play this card purely because it's one of the few nobles matters cards. But yeah, just be aware that you'll probably run into the same issues, into the issues that we've kind of talked about.
Well, the biggest combo with it is like with Recruitment Effort, where you're putting adventurers in your deck and then you're buffing those adventurers in your deck.
So in that case, you wouldn't be doing this on turn 3. You'd be doing it on a later turn.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
like
yeah,
it's a slow card.
yeah, we can talk about that when we get to recruitment effort.
where would we put this? Like
Um,
B? I think it's like a
I
B.
would put this. I would put this card in B. I definitely think it's one to keep an eye on. If because of the nobles matters cards, obviously this card gets better with more nobles being released. So, if suddenly we get like a really good noble that really benefits from having ranged or the extra buff, or can be sought out from your deck very easily or whatever, this card could definitely go up. But currently as the meta stands and how the noble deck plays out, I wouldn't put this anything above B.
Okay, so next we have the Socialite. The Okay, so he's a 5 mana that is actually a 3 mana because of his enhance. 1 coin to make him 3 mana, which you always enhance this guy. There's no situation where I would not enhance him. So he basically, TLDR, he's a 3 mana for 1 coin that's a 3/4, and whenever there is a noble that is summoned, you plunder. So basically, a random card that you choose from 3 cards, you add to your hand. This card's really good.
Yeah, I agree.
I, I
So
just I just think
I think
there's
the big
not.
part to note. Yeah, go on, go on.
Yeah, I think the biggest part that brings him down is there's just not enough noble support that is good right now.
I agree. So that's kind of what I was going is well, what I wanted to say is like obviously this guy's a noble himself, but this feels like the noble, the engine of the noble deck. If you're playing the nobles, you're playing 3 of this guy because he just makes the deck work. He gives you card advantage for just playing your strategy, which is playing nobles. So the fact that he's quote unquote above rate, being a 3 mana 3/4, is like fantastic in his survivability and being able to start getting the the card advantage you get from plundering as you play your cards.
But yeah, I think he's really good. It's just not enough stuff helps him out.
Exactly. So in a similar vein to Altaran's army, again, it's one to keep an eye on as more nobles are printed. But you can definitely, I definitely think this is like, as I said, the engine of the noble deck. And if there's anything that makes it tick, it's this card.
Yeah, either more are printed or nobles are buffed. Okay, so I think it's definitely like an S, I think. Maybe an S or
So
an
this
A.
is this is where I put a caveat. So I would say it's S in specifically the nobles deck.
Okay.
However, I wouldn't just run this card in any of your deck. It specifically requires its synergy. So I think if we had like an A plus to kind of put it in the middle, but I think for now we can drop it into S and leave it
Yeah.
at that,
Yeah,
with the caveat that it doesn't work everywhere else.
yeah, it only works in nobles. If you're running it outside
Yeah,
of nobles, what are you doing?
exactly. If you're not playing this for its synergy with nobles, I would put this at B tier. You can find something better, but if you're playing the nobles deck, you can't find anything better.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Boomstick Ranger. So it's a 4 mana ranged with 4/2, and then it's got Death Blow, and it gives a random creature in your hand 1/1, and then it makes it 2 cards in your hand, for 3 coins. Biggest
So this
biggest downside of this card, that little 2 health right there.
So we haven't really gotten to some of the important quote unquote important cards of this guild yet, but a common theme you may find is that 2 health is actually a bit of a liability on cards that cost more because they can be removed so easily. So if
Cause
they do have 2 health, they need to have some kind of effective ability that impacts the board. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't really provide that.
he's like, yeah, if you do get his ability, it's really fun, but it's too often that you won't get his ability at all, and then your opponent gets coins because of it.
That's it. So yeah, this card is like I don't consider Death Blow to be a very reliable way to trigger like the Death Blow field because especially if you're playing against say a DM, they probably won't block with a creature. They're going to eat the 4, so they might as well ding a health off of it with the DM. Um, they're not gonna block and trade a creature with it. Um, so the fact that he doesn't do that, so you're probably not even going to get the ability anyway. The enhance doesn't help it because it just makes the inconsistent ability better, but it's still hard to trigger. Um, but yeah, he just feels very easy to deal with for too much mana.
Yeah, the only way you can make this guy good, if you're playing in your deck, is you definitely want to buff his health. You want to get that health
100%.
up to make him so that he can be able to survive long enough to be able to get his damage out or his buffs on your hand out.
I agree because I guess it is good. Okay, that the death blow specifically works with ranged really well. You know, in the fact that having the ranged means that his low health shouldn't be a liability, but yeah, unfortunately, and we'll get to it. It is a bit of a liability.
Yeah, it's not a liability when he's attacking usually, but it is a liability when you got so many spells in the game that kill anything that's 3 and under.
Yep, pretty simply. Cool.
So I think because of his health, he's probably a B tier.
Well, I would put this card at C, to be
Well,
honest.
I mean, if you're buffing his health, he's not too bad. I like him. I think he can be a really fun card to play around with, but you have to buff his health, or your opponent has to be not playing tons of removal.
Yeah, I think the thing I have with that is you have to do a lot of work to buff his health, and I think there are better options to be doing that, such that I would don't want to be playing a 4 mana 4/2
Like
to
Cautious Hunting
for
Party.
the pet for the yeah, as an example, or the stump.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of great cards that you want to buff health on. And I don't know if a 4 mana 4/2 with ranged is where I want to be doing that.
Yeah,
But yeah, if you
there's
want, you can put it in B, but I would put it in C.
yeah. I don't think he's like that bad. I think his ability does synergize with the ranged pretty well, but you're gonna play other cards usually. And then we
Okay.
got Brooding Executioner. So this is a 6 mana 4/7 that has Deathblow gain a coin, and then it enhances 3 extra attack for 2 coins. So basically, you're probably spending 2 coins to make him a 7/7 for 6 mana.
That's it.
You're
Um,
you're probably gonna play better cards than him.
that's it. So I think the way to evaluate this card is kind of like, so I said it before, where Death Blow is a bit inconsistent to trigger, and it has to be a really really good ability for me to even consider it as text on the card. And I don't think gaining a coin on Death Blow is big enough. So the way I assess this card is, it's a 6 mana 7/7 effectively, which you can think of the ability of this card as big. You know, this card is above rate. 6 mana for 7/7 is above rate. Um, the only thing is there are a lot of cards that are above rate and cheaper than 6 mana, where I think you'll likely find a better things to do with a 6 mana on your turn
Yeah,
than playing a 7/7.
yeah. There's better cards that you'd rather play, but I think if you are running like if you have to run it, it's not that bad. Like your opponent is
That's it.
probably gonna chump block it to not take that 7 damage, so it does encourage your opponent to block it.
Exactly. I think this card would be a better, like, would see a higher rating, I guess, if this were a tier list for draft. I think the draft formats, and I think Tony Big Blind's made a program to be able to support that for the game. But draft tends to be where you don't have decks that are very highly synergistic, where something that is just big and has a presence on the board is a bit more valued. Whereas when you're playing, constructed, which is what we're all used to, building a deck to work, um, you 6 mana 7/7 doesn't really have a lot of synergy with things. It's a bit hard to get working. Um,
Yeah,
I think
there's probably
I
cards that
think
you'd rather play over it.
yeah, I think that there is some merit in that. This is a card. This is a way to gain coins when you're not playing the Plundering Guild as your primary faction. However, I think there are better options to do that you don't need to run this card still.
Yeah, I think it's probably like a C tier.
I will put this card in C. Yes.
Like, yeah, it's outside of a lot of removal ranges. That's the good part about it. But I mean, you can be killed by like like tall removal, like Wealth Pummel, or you get rid of get it could be gotten rid of by like Spring Trap or
Exactly. I think you named the card that basically makes expensive things a bit. They have to meet a certain threshold before they can see play, which is Springtrap. This doesn't have any immediate impact on the board and is very Springtrappable. So yeah, I think C's a good fit for it.
so we got Dagger Supplier. So it shuffles an adventurer into your deck whenever you summon a creature. But it's a 3 mana 2/2. that on its aftermath it takes 2 damage, and then it's enhanced it takes 1 damage, only 1 damage at the end of your turn for 1 coin. So you're gonna, if you want to play this card, you're gonna enhance it basically, so it can last 2 turns.
Yep,
So I
I
think
agree.
I would compare this to it's like a worse rallying totem.
Exactly. That's kind of the synergy, well, the similarities I'm kind of drawing from it as well.
So basically, you're kind of every time you summon a creature, you're putting a random 2/2 into your deck that is like free. But if you have full creatures on board, it does literally nothing. So you have to have a low board, and you have to be not filling up your board state and it's
Yeah,
random.
that's kind of the biggest thing. So the biggest difference between this and the rallying totem is that the rallying totem is giving you the value then and there. You know, you're putting something on the board, you're drawing a card, you're getting a mana. Whereas this is, well, you're not drawing a card, you're not getting any mana. You're spending the mana you have to put a 2/2 into your deck that you might not even see the value from, right? Um, the fact that it's a creature itself is, well, it has its ups and downs. You know, you can this can be buffed by things. Maybe you can get an extra turn out of it, but um, it's important to note that in general, you know, it's really hard to line this up with other coin generating cards that you'll likely be enhancing it because you're playing a Plunderer's Guild as your primary faction. And the Plunderer's Guild doesn't look to have a lot of, you know, cheap early creatures that you can, you know, play this and then play in the same turn to start trying to, getting quote unquote value, because you're not even seeing the value yet.
Yeah, there's not really a
uh,
lot of like small
yeah,
creatures that you can play in the Plundering Guild.
yeah. It's like you're doing a lot of work to get this card, you know, to work, and the payoff is
Not
you
very
might not even see
much.
the payoff.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess you could buff his health with like Traveling Medic to make him last like 2 extra turns. That is one thing you
yeah,
could do, but like, how good is that? Mm,
exactly. Like you gotta think, it's like if you're playing the traveling medic to buff his health, well, one, you're not buffing their health or something else, but two, you're gonna lose that value because the card's gonna die anyway. But three, the biggest part you have to think of is the payoff, and I don't think the payoff is worth it.
so if you're playing nobles, I don't think it's worth it, in my
It's
opinion.
a bit. It's I think it's a bit telling when a card that feels like it should really put a whole bunch of nobles into your deck to synergize well doesn't really go in the nobles deck is a bit of a sign. Um, we may be misinterpreting this card. Maybe it goes in a completely different deck. But so far I haven't really seen any that's worth it, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
like maybe there's something there if you play this in like in a Riotous recruitment deck. So you know you like reserve this in another 3-drop, and then you summon this and then instantly get an adventure in your deck, and you kind of keep going or something. But I don't know. It just feels that's the same deal. It's a lot of work to kind of
yeah, not really do
not
much.
really, yeah.
I think it's like a C tier,
I'd put it in C tier for now. Um,
unless
although I will say I think it's the same kind of caveat as some of the other cards we've mentioned already, where it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Um, maybe if there's an easy way to just spam out your creatures onto the field, um, that you're actually putting massive amounts of adventurers into your deck, then yeah, maybe. But I don't see any cards like that coming in the near future.
yeah, like the cards where you have to draw it to summon it, it's random. You have to put a lot of them into your deck for it to actually see like a tenth of the value you're putting into the deck. And then we have the Daring Swindler. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 that on its last word, you add a copy of a random card from your opponent's hand to your hand. And then it enhances 2 mana to add entrance to that ability. This guy's really good.
This card is fantastic.
He's got really good value. So what you're getting out of this is you're getting one of the cards from your opponent's hand. So you're getting information on what your opponent has in hand, at least one of the cards. So you're getting a card from your opponent's hand, which is most likely a card that's going to be useful to you. If it isn't, then they're probably not playing something that's going to win against you.
So yeah, this card, at first I initially underrated it when I was, when I had joined the beta stream and was looking at the cards. I kind of looked over and didn't even try it in any decks. But the first time I had it played against me, I I was like, oh, okay, I understand the play pattern of this card now. So you said it. It's a 2 mana 2/2, right? So it's a
Yeah, it's
its
on
rate
rate.
it's on rate, which is really good. But the fact that like once it's on the board, they have to deal with a 2/2. So whether that's trading with one of their own creatures, they use a spell on it. They're using a card to basically get rid of this card. And then on top of that, once that happens, you get information from their hand and you're drawing that card. So this is all it's always like a 2-for-1. But the information is important too. So I'd consider this even a 2.5-for-1, right? And then that's not even introducing the enhance ability, where if you can enhance it, it's like a 3-for-1, you know?
Yeah,
This card's fantastic.
the enhance works really well with Dead or Alive when you're splashing it into a different deck, because you're getting an extra card, and then more information from your opponent's hand.
Yep.
So,
Uh,
what else to say? I had an idea in my head. What to say?
I think this card fits in a like multiple decks as well, so this can definitely go on an aggressive deck. 2 mana 2/2s. It's again, we say it's not like super aggressive, but it's perfectly fine. The fact that the ability in makes your opponent not want to really trade because you're getting such good value when it dies is inherently kind of aggressive. It means that they're not wanting to trade off your creature, which is really good. That's what you want in an aggressive deck. But as well as that, if you're playing like a mid-range deck, this is a perfect bridge from the early game to starting to get to the late game, because it does the same thing. It holds off aggressive decks because they don't want to really trade for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is
And
very adaptable to what your opponent is playing. Because, so like, if your opponent's playing like an aggressive deck, you're probably gonna get an aggressive card.
that's not to even speak if you accidentally pull a removal spell from their hand and then just use it to hold their aggression some more. You know, that's kind of like best case scenario. But
And
I
then,
think even in the worst case scenario, the information is just so valuable that it gives you answers to play around.
and also, since DMs are one attack now, he can get 4 damage on your opponent's DM. So, getting double damage the mana is generally on rate for damage output.
I think it also puts your opponent into a weird position when you play it, in that you know they have to kind of try and manipulate their hand by playing cards in a certain way such that you don't get them. So, for example, and I think this came up yesterday, where you played it, and what I had in my hand was like Maggie's Springtrap, right? And if I killed your Swindler, both of those cards were absolutely devastating to me. So I just couldn't kill your Swindler. You know, I had to make sure I used those cards in probably inefficient ways just to make sure that you didn't get them from me.
Yeah, and then
So
also it goes past the limit of how many cards in your deck you can have. So
yeah,
you can get like Magies in your hand or something like that. Get more uniques in your hand.
that's it. This card's just fantastic. I don't think it deserves anything less than S tier.
Yeah, I think this is actually a better than a card draw, in my opinion.
Yeah, why's that?
Because you're not taking a card from your deck, and then also it adapts to what your opponent is playing, and then also the information.
Yeah, I'd agree. In a card game, information is god. Is really top tier. Yeah.
Okay, and then we have Dead or Alive. This is a defining card. Uh, it's
Yep.
it's deal 2 damage to a creature. If it dies, gain 2 coins, and then enhance, deal 4 damage instead for 2 coins. This is affected by mastery, by the way.
All
So
this for 1 mana.
yeah, it's 1 mana. So I would compare this to Dark Matter Blast, but like none of the
Yep.
downsides of
Yep.
actually losing life, and all
That's
of
it.
the upsides for killing a 2 creature, 2 health.
Exactly. So I think 1 mana removal is just absolute king in card games. When you play a 1 mana card to deal with your 2 or 3 mana card, that's what's called tempo advantage. You spent your 1 mana to their 3 mana, so you can do something else with the 2 mana that you have left over, and you're using your resources more efficiently, and the way you do that is with your 1 mana removal spell. So the fact that this can remove basically almost anything if you enhance it is like fantastic. Even the base rate of 2 damage for the 1 mana is just phenomenal. And this is one of the cards we're alluding to when we say that 2 health is really important at the moment.
Yeah, and then
You know,
also this card can kill like up to 6 mana creatures.
yeah, it's
If
nuts.
if that doesn't say how badly stat lined those 5 manas and stuff are, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Like,
Um, I think this is like one of, if not the reason to be playing Plunderer's Guild, whether as your primary or secondary faction, purely so that you have access to this card.
this card is just obviously SS. It's really
Yeah,
strong.
I'd say I'm not sure if it needs to be needs to be nerfed so much as
Everything like
other cards.
other
Everything else needs to be buffed.
yeah, it just kind of shows why we need the middle ranged cards to be more healthy and more actually able to survive.
I agree. Yeah, I think this card is meta defining
It is.
and yeah, deck defining, I guess.
If you're running Plundering Guild at all, you're running 3 cups of this, whether it's
100%.
secondary or main.
Yep, I 100% agree.
And then we got Fireball. So this is a 4 mana that it deals the mana cost uh, equal to the creature, and then half of that mana cost to the adjacent. So by default, it's a 4 damage and then 2 on each side. And then you can enhance it to make it 6 mana, so it does 6 in the middle and then 3 on each side. Right?
Yep. Yeah, for 2 coins.
Yeah. For 2 coins, it increases the mana cost to 6. So
Yeah,
that enhance gives it later game potential.
that's it.
And then
So where to begin? I think everyone kind of knows this card. If someone's watching this tier list, they've probably played against Fireball or played it themselves, and they know how great it is. I don't think again this is similar to Bullet, and I don't think it's anything below SS tier. Just the ability to 3 for 1 your opponent, even at the base level, without enhancing it, is just absolutely bonkers. We were talking before about Daring Swindler and how it's like a 2 for 1 and it makes your opponent play weird. Well, Fireball does that and more. It's a 3 for 1 unless you make your opponent play weird around it.
yeah,
Um,
if it
yeah,
tells you this card alone makes DMs better.
yep, yeah.
It
It's kind of because I think we need to clarify that's because the damage from Fireball to adjacent creatures doesn't affect DMs. It only affects creatures. So your opponent can play their creatures in such a way that the ones that they value, I guess, next to the DM. So it minimizes the damage that's spread across their board.
yeah, but even still, it's really good.
That's it. I think it's more a testament to how good Fireball is that people have to play around it than how good DMs are. Um, having said that, I think DMs are really good still.
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's important to note though is that Fireball at its base level is 4/2/2 and 4 damage and then 2 damage to the sides, where 2 damage is that magic number we were talking about.
So
And that's because
basically you're getting for 4 mana, you're getting 8 damage out, and you're spreading it out as well. So
yeah,
that damage is gonna be always effective, pretty much. And your opponent
yeah,
has to play differently if they want to survive because of this card.
100%.
It
Yeah.
changes how
So this
you play
card
the game.
exactly. Just by existing, you might not even have the Fireball in your hand, but if your opponent sees that you're playing a Plunderer's Guild deck, they have to be considering this card at all times leading up to turn 4 and even thereafter. You know,
Oh,
it's so meta defining in my opinion that yeah, I don't think I'll put anything short of SS.
yeah, SS definitely. Okay, I'm waiting on the Assassin's Strike to talk
Yeah,
about it until we have an Assassin's Strike card.
100%. Yeah, we can talk about Assassin's Strike when we get to it.
Okay, and then we have uh, what was this guy's name?
So this is Frontline Squire. It's a 1 mana 1/1. with the entrance is give a random creature in your hand +1/+1. But you can enhance it by for 1 coin, and it gives 2 random creatures instead.
I really like this guy.
This, yeah, I agree. I think this card's quite good.
So,
Um,
so he is like if you do his enhance, that's like 3/3 for 1 mana. But the only bad thing about him really is he's a terrible one top deck.
yep,
So if you're in a bad situation, you don't want to draw him.
that's it. It seems like the abilities that he'll give, the buffs to your creatures, the other creatures in your hand when you're in a top deck situation, obviously just doesn't exist. But I think that's a pretty small downside to the absolutely, insane
Bonkers.
upside that he has if you play him on turn 1.
And then
And that's the good thing is you can play him enhanced on turn 1 if you're a Plunderer's Guild.
and
You just enhance him, bam, 2 things in your hand are suddenly bigger.
yeah, and then also that buff isn't always actually like only a 1-to-3 ratio. It can be higher than that depending on the card.
Oh, what did you mean by that?
So I mean like if you buff Cautious Hunting Party with it, or you buff
Hmm.
Roaring Mutt, then
Hmm.
it's even better. So it has really good synergy potential.
That's it.
I don't think it's not one of those cards where you're always gonna run it. I think it's not that you're not usually gonna run it as a secondary. You're not gonna run like MRA PG usually. It's just a weird combo to do. So like it kind of gets left out and sometimes because of how like other cards are so insane right now that you'd rather play those over him.
Yep,
Like the MRA 1 manas just are so good that you're gonna pick
exactly.
MRA over
Yeah.
Plundering Guild.
It feels, yeah, exactly. Like, it feels like this card should be an aggressive card. You play it on turn 1, it makes your other cheap things in your hand like slightly better, and then you play those on turn 2 and you get going. But it kind of doesn't play out that way in that you just want to play the better 1 drops, um, and just get attacking with them straight away. So like it feels like it should be aggressive, but it doesn't really work that well in an aggressive deck. But having said that, it's definitely more synergy based. I think the interaction you mentioned with Cautious Hunting Party and what's it called, the Roaring Mutt.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're called.
Party the Roaring
Um,
Mutt.
Party of the Roaring Mutt. Yeah. It feels like that synergy kind of works a bit better, which kind of puts it more into a mid range deck. And I think that's kind of correct. Like 1 mana for 3/3 is a very mid rangey sort of value.
Yeah. I think it's. Do you think it's an S or like an A? I think it's like an A. I
I
think
would put this in A.
yeah, it's
Yep.
it's like in the
It's
same category as like the Farmhand.
exactly. Yep.
Same
I would
area.
agree there.
Like they're both pretty strong cars. It's just they're a little different. I think I like Frontline a little more than the Farmhand, in my opinion.
I'd agree. The farmhand is feels a little bit more lackluster than the front line. But having said that, I think they're both fantastic in the A tier, because they both go in their kind of respective deck/strategies
Okay,
equally as fine.
so we're gonna talk about Assassin's Strike because the next card is talking about Assassin's Strike. So
Sure.
Assassin's Strike, it's you're basically putting these in your opponent's deck, and then when your opponent draws them, they take 1 damage, and then they banish the card, and then they draw another card. So basically, it like okay, so Assassin's Strike it has combos with Garnian, so they gain more life from Garnian. Like if you have Garnian on your side of the field, and then your opponent draws an Assassin's Strike, you're getting an extra life from that.
Yep. Because they draw another card.
But Garnian also falls flat because it is a 2 health.
It's a 4 mana 2 health. That's it. Yeah. So Assassin's Strike that's basically it. So this is a card that you put in your opponent's deck with other cards, and when they draw it, they draw through it basically. So they draw it and they take their 1 damage and then draw another card. So knowing that, we can, I guess, assess
Yeah.
our next card, Garnian Cutthroat.
So Garnian Cutthroat, it's a 3 mana, 1 man army that's a 3/2 that has a death blow that shuffles one of your assassin strikes into your deck, so you can think of it as a randomized 1 damage uh, could happen, possibly,
Yep.
into their
Yep.
deck. And then you pay 1 coin to have it be a last word to put another Assassin Strike in your deck.
Exactly.
It's not good.
Cool. So it's not good. Okay. I think you should explain why though.
Yeah.
So the way you determine whether this card is good or not is you have to determine how good is putting an Assassin Strike into my opponent's deck. Um, too, too long didn't read is the card is not very good doing that. But the reason of that is because it's not reliable.
Yeah.
If you're shuffling a Assassin Strike into your opponent's deck, you're having to do that via playing a card, and in this case, you're having to kill a creature with your Garnian Cutthroat, which is kind of a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot has to line up, and then for your reward is to put an Assassin Strike in their deck, right? But that
Yeah.
reward it hasn't even come to fruition yet because they still need to draw it, which has an even lower chance of happening.
Yeah. I like to think of it as like you take the chance of them drawing that card, the Assassin Strike, and then it's like a 1 in 40. No, it's listen, it's more than that. It's like probably like a 1 in 30 something.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You're partway through the game. They've drawn a few cards. Yeah, you're probably like a 1 in 30 chance of them drawing it.
yeah. But
Which is actually very tiny. 1 in 30 is a minuscule amount.
yeah, a 1 in
Um,
30 chance to do 1 damage to your opponent.
that's it, and that's only once you've gone through the work of putting it in. Specifically with Garnian Cutthroat, it's actually very hard to put an Assassin Strike into their deck by the Deathblow. I think we've already talked about why that is with Deathblow being inconsistent.
And you're probably
Um,
only getting like 0 to 2 Assassin Strikes with
exactly.
this.
Because Garnian Cutthroat has the magic 2 health.
Yeah, the magic 2 health
um,
for 3 mana.
yeah. So the only way you can confirm that you put an Assassin Strike in their deck is by enhancing it, giving it last word, so that when it dies, it does that. But I don't think the one Assassin Strike you'll put in their deck for the 1 coin is even worth the 1 coin.
I think it's an F, really.
I think this is F to C, but I'm happy at putting it in F, to be honest. Um,
I think it's an F because it actually actively hurts you, especially when your opponent has dead or alive. It that's just
exactly,
actively
yeah.
hurting you.
Like it feels like the abilities on this card you can just ignore because they're so minimal. So you have to assess this card as a 3 mana 3/2 with 1 man army, and that just doesn't fly currently
Yeah,
because of all the removal.
I think the developers overvalue one man army, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I
1 man army feels like
it,
worse ranged.
yeah, it's like ranged but worse.
Yeah. And because like your opponent can play around it much easier. Um and
I,
it,
I've
it can't block a flyer or block other ranged favorably.
Yeah, I think that the developers have that opposite where they think that one man army is better than ranged, but I think ranged is better than
I would agree in that. I think range is better than 1 man army. But yeah, just the fact that it's so much mana for not that great stats with the death health, um, and not that great abilities. I think this is just not playable.
Okay. And then moving on, we got Grave Robber. So this is a 3 mana 3/1 that on entrance it steals a random non-token from your opponent's graveyard and adds it to your hand. And then its enhanced makes it so it's not random for 2 coins. Yeah.
Yeah, for 2 coins.
So I think that's a lot of coins for little benefit. It
I would agree. I don't think 2 coins is worth removing random. However, I think the fact that you just steal a card from their grave is fine. That's like you drawing a card.
it
Probably better than drawing a card, very slightly. But the fact that it's just straight on entrance, so you will get a card back as soon as you play this. So that's good. And then the fact that it's 3 attack means it's probably going to trade with whatever it attacks or blocks.
Yeah, it's probably gonna
So
trade, but it's probably gonna die by something that's like a Call of the Old God or a Vanguard.
exactly. So like you're basically going to get your 2 for 1 value with this card. Um,
Uh,
Having said that, that's
what I would say that drawing one card for 3 mana, and then you're probably losing this guy. It's kind of meh.
That's kind of what I'm leading into is that you're probably going to get your 2-for-1 your 2-for-1 value. I mean, maybe not. They're playing like a DM and they can just block it, and then you didn't get your 2-for-1 value. But a lot of cards actually have more than 2-for-1 value that see play at the moment, as well as synergizing with their respective decks.
I
I
think
don't.
I think this is only really a good card if you're specifically countering a single strategy that has to do with the graveyard.
Yes. Your old boons to bones necromancy,
Yeah, like that.
or or even just snagging like I don't know, a Maggie that's died naturally anyway, and you make sure they can't necromancy it,
I think this
that kind
card
of thing.
I think this card came in too late into the game to actually be used.
I think that's pretty good. Yeah, because 3 mana it is a bit steep to just draw a card. A lot of cards get their value for much less mana than 3.
I think
Having said that, there's it feels weird because it's like this card isn't necessarily bad. It's just that there's better cards.
I think it's like a B. I think it has
I would put
better
it in B.
it has more value than it actually has guaranteed some kind of value,
Yep,
which has its merit. Which I think it's better than like these two.
yep,
These two, I'm not sure if those could be switched or not. It's a toss up,
yeah,
but I think it actually has some kind of value, so it's better than these.
100%. I think it's better than the other two cards in this B tier as well as everything below it. So I think B tier is fine.
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't put it any like an A tier with what Frontline Squire and what is it? Adventurous Farmhand.
yeah. Those could. I
Um,
mean, depending. I don't think those come into effect. But they don't come into the game as much because of their like being in Plundering Guild. If that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. I think the Grave Robber is kind of like it feels like a good card, but you're probably going to find something better to fit into your very precious 40 slots of your deck.
Yeah, you're not gonna. You're gonna go through those. You're gonna have something in there that's better. Okay, and then we got Heirloom Enchantment, which this is a 3 mana that gives a friendly creature 1/1, and then on the last word it basically plays itself again on to another creature, and then its enhances turning 2 coins to make it 1 mana card.
This card felt a bit weird to me. I haven't really played with it, nor had it really played against me. I think it probably falls into the same trap of Grave Robber where it's fine, but you'll probably find something better. Um, the the enhance for 2 coins to make it 1 mana really what throws me on trying to assess where this card is, because for 1 mana, this ability to just always give things +1/+1 feels like it's fine. That's good for 1 mana, but you have to play it later in the game. You have to wait until you have 2 coins to do it, plus creatures on the board to really make use of it. Um, but
Um,
yeah, the fact that it can be kind of played around by
yeah, there's
killing,
okay.
yeah,
So
you can
let
kind
me
of try and kill the other things, or
yeah, let me
so
get
that
into
it doesn't
that.
really trigger.
So
Yeah,
there's really 3 ways you can counter this card. So first way, you banish the creature that has it on. Second, you springtrap the card that has it. And then third, you just kill all their creatures on board.
that's it. And if
So
only there was a way to target multiple things at once
yeah, if only there
with
was
one
ways
card.
of like nuking the entire board.
Yeah. Damn. It's not like that would be SS tier or anything.
I, okay, I think it's like a B tier. I think it's like okay, but like you're probably gonna play something else. There's so much ability to counter it. Just
Yeah,
having when you just naturally have cards that nuke the board, which most people will, then it's just probably gonna die, and you're not gonna get good value out of it. Because it probably has to
yeah.
die like 3 times or 2 times for you to get good value out of it. Your
That's
creatures.
it. Yeah, it's a very slow value, and it's not that like +1/+1 is bad to give to creatures. That kind of breaks a lot of like breakpoints, I guess, on creatures. But the fact that it's kind of slow and gives you your opponent has so many ways to play around it is just, I don't know. When I play a card, I kind of don't want to give my opponent options, you know?
Yeah,
I prefer not to.
yeah, I like to force my opponent into very difficult choices.
That's it. This doesn't do that. I
Okay.
think B is a good place for it.
And then we have Heraldry of Kradam. So it's a 4 mana. For each coin you have, give a friendly creature, non-token creature, 1/1 in last word, uh, to put another copy of itself into your deck, and then you lose all your coins. It is
Wait,
it
is that right? It
yeah,
puts a copy into your deck, or you shuffle that card?
shuffle
'Cause
this
I think that's
card
important.
into your deck.
Yeah, okay. Because I think that's like,
So you could, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
which
it's specifically they're specifically different things.
I don't like putting this card in my deck because you already used your coins. What are you going to use your coins again?
Wait, what do you mean?
I don't
So you
think
mean like up before turn 4?
yeah, I don't think shuffling
Yeah,
more
okay.
copies into your deck with this card specifically is that good. It's not like Call of the Old God where you just keep on using them. This card
Wait,
those cards are kind of probably going to be dead cards because you're not going to have the coins to spend on them.
wait. What do you mean? So
So,
it says for each coin you have, give a friendly non-token creature +1/+1, and last word, shuffle the creature back into your deck. Not
oh,
another Heraldry of Kradam.
oh. Oh, it's the creature?
It's a bit of
Oh.
words. Yeah, it shuffles the creature. So like it's basically gives your creatures a second life by putting them
Oh.
back into your deck.
Okay. I guess I didn't understand the card.
Yeah, it's a bit of a word soup. I don't blame you.
Uh, but it isn't so okay, so those creatures on board get sent back into your deck. I didn't realize that. I thought it sent the Healdra of Kradams into your deck.
I mean, I haven't played with the card. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but
I,
that's the way I'm reading it. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. But even then, it's kind of like so for each coin you have, you're giving +1/+1 to a creature, a non-token creature. So like for 4 mana, you for one you can't be spending your coins if you want to make a good Heraldry of Kradam, right? Because you know you do it for every coin you have, but then you spend all your coins to do it. So one, you're not enhancing everything else. Um, two, you're giving +1/+1, so you can stack them onto like one thing to make it big.
Yeah,
Or you can give it to your board, which I think is probably what you're going to be doing.
yeah. You
The
can
last word, shuffle your creature into your deck, feels that's not why I'm playing this card. What I'm doing is for the buff to the team, and the problem with that is at 4 mana and using all my coins, I think I can find better options to do that.
yeah. I
Maybe
think
not in the Plundering Guild, maybe in the Dungeon Masters Guild, but the Dungeon Masters. But
yeah,
yeah,
maybe a
I don't know.
Lich, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's another deck that does that a bit better.
Yeah, but
Um,
it is notable that you can spread it out. I think
that's it.
this is like a final play kind of. You play like one of these and then you use like all of your coins to do it.
Yeah,
Maybe I think the biggest downside of this is it's 4 mana, so you can't do it with Great
exactly.
Rev on the same turn.
Oh, lol.
I think that's by design.
That's actually good.
I think that's by
I
design.
that might be, yeah. Because yeah, I thought this feels a bit underwhelming for 4 mana. Like this could probably be 3, even 2 mana, honestly, to make it a bit more playable. But it felt like 4 was specifically chosen for a reason. I think you might have picked it. Is
Yeah.
that this would be pretty good if you used it with Great Rev.
But you're probably gonna play it whenever you're not using your coins at the moment, and then you're just you're just casually gaining.
Yeah,
But I think it's a fun card, I would say. But you're kind of converting your coins into like damage on board and protection. But I,
I think it's just the 4 mana is what kills it for me.
yeah, well, if because it's 4 mana, you probably have to spend like 4 coins or 3 to 4 coins on it to actually be worth it.
Yeah, which is a lot of coins. Like a lot of you see a lot of the enhanced cards, like a lot of the good ones, enhanced for 1 or 2 coins. The things that enhance for 3 or 4. So if you're spending 4 coins for this, that's on the high end, of your coin usage.
Yeah. I think it's like it's
I would
I
put this
think
card in.
you think C?
I would put this card in. I would put this card in C plus if we had it.
Well, I think
um,
I think like it's probably like high C. So like
yeah,
it's like a finisher card kind of in a way. It's like more late game you're gonna play that.
yeah. It's just purely because the last word shuffle the creature back into your deck. Um, I don't know. I feel like it takes away your synergy with being able to play like necromancy. It takes away you want stuff to be in your graveyard for some decks, but like shuffling the creature back into your deck falls under the same problem of shuffling an adventure into your deck. You have to draw it again to get the ability. And
Yeah.
what's to say you even want to draw the creature again? You might be wanting to draw something a bit better for that situation in the late game.
Okay. So we got Jagir Copymage. So he's a 3 mana 2/2 that is a noble, so you gotta keep that in mind. He has an entrance that he copies a random card in your hand and then adds it to your hand. And then his enhance is the copied card gets 2 less mana for 2 points. I really like this card.
Yeah, this card's fantastic. So I guess to start with the stats, 3 mana 2/2. It feels a little underrated, right? But obviously, if we're rating it, it seems like we're both on the same page where we're rating it highly. Is that it has to have a bit of a whopper ability to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
if it's
and
under rate, then it has to have a pretty strong ability to be good.
that's it. And the fact that you copy a card in your hand, even if it's at random, it feels like one you can kind of finesse what card you're going to copy by playing other things. Probably not going to because you probably want to be playing this on turn 3, but copying a card in your hand
It's
it
really
has
good.
inherently more synergy than taking, say, a card from your opponent because the card in your hand is going to work with your strategy because that's how you built your deck.
Okay, and another thing to note is if you copy a card in your hand, it does keep the enhance. So if you enhance cards
That's
ahead
it.
of time, then you're saving coins in the end, because
Yep.
it's like I think it's even better than like a Daring Swindler draw. It's like a even
Yes.
better draw. You're
Yep.
getting more copies of cards you wouldn't have in your deck.
Yep.
You get
Yeah, I
more.
think copying a card from your hand is better than stealing a card or copying a card from their hand. Um, but yeah, and that's not even taking into account when you enhance this card. you
Uh,
know?
oh yeah, and then also this card, if you can have infinite combo with this card.
Yeah, that's a bit of a cheeky thing, but in terms of enhancing, you know, if you think of it in general, if you're copying a card from your hand and you're enhancing it, enhancing this card to make it cheaper, then you're getting a card that's good in your deck at a cheaper rate. That's fantastic. But the combo you're alluding to is a bit cheeky because it works with itself. If you enhance your Jagir Copymage and you play it, and you copy your own another
Enhance.
Copymage in your hand
That is enhanced.
that is enhanced, yes, it becomes a 1 mana Copymage.
And then if you play
Right?
the 3 mana copy mage, that's enhanced. You get free copy mage.
That's it. So basically, you can get yourself into a situation where you have 2 Copymages that are enhanced and they're free in your hand, and then you can literally just fill out your board with 2/2s every time.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, and the fact that it's even funnier when the fact that you don't need any other cards to do that. You just need Copymage.
Yeah,
yeah,
the only thing about that is you have to get your hand set up for it. So you have to get your
yeah,
hand down to just the 2 copy mages really.
that's it. It's a bit memey, but like at the same time, it's something to keep in mind when you're playing the Copymages. Um, it's probably better to just early game play the Copymage in your hand rather than sandbagging it, waiting for another Copymage to do this weird combo later on. But it is something to keep in mind if you get to the late game and you top deck a Copymage, maybe it's worth just holding it for
Yeah.
another Copymage to come. Um,
I would
and
say,
all of that.
oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
what
go
were
on.
you saying?
I would say, and all of that, and it has all of the noble synergies that we were talking about before. This card being a nuts card and just being a noble on top, just slam dunk into the noble deck, easy.
Slender case S tier. Let's move on.
Yeah, this is definitely an S tier card.
Okay, so we got King Altaran, the whatever. Who cares?
Covetous.
Oh, that is what it is.
Yeah,
But he's he's a 10 mana unique, so you can only have one copy. He's a 8/10 and he's a noble. That when you can enhance him to get amped for 1 coin, and then he activates to duel an enemy creature, and if the enemy creature dies, steal a random card from your opponent's deck and put it in your hand. So this guy will die over time, by the way, and he's less than on rate for health. Like, yeah, he's on rate for health, but
yeah,
the best use of this card is to snipe low health creatures and low attack creatures. That's probably the best use of this card. But
yeah,
you're probably gonna do that with cheaper cards for less mana.
yeah. I agree. The 10 mana on this card is the absolute like killer. I mean, the fact that it's also unique, like, it's not that the card, like, the text on it's inherently bad. You know, if you play this on 10, like, you probably do better things with 10 mana. But you know, even if you play this and you tap it and fight, like, I don't know, one of their 6/6s or something, I don't know, you kind of come out ahead because you also draw a card from their deck. So I guess their deck is important there because it's a lot more random. But
Yeah,
um,
you're stealing resources from your opponent, which is something to note, but
yeah,
it's not
the thing is,
worth it.
yeah, the thing is, the advantage it gives you is random. The fact that it's unique is kind of random as well because it inherently makes it harder to draw. It doesn't, so you'll probably get like a 2 or 3 for 1, but this is a 10 mana card. I'm expecting to get a lot more value for 10 mana.
Yeah,
Um,
there are better 10 manas for they're gonna give you more impact
yeah. Um,
on the board.
Having said that, it is a noble. At this stage of the game, I would play this in the noble deck purely just to have more nobles. But the second more nobles come out, this looks to be one of the first things I'm cutting
Honestly, I've already cut it.
to make room. The noble decks, yeah. I mean, the enhanced for one, like, to give it amped for 1 coin isn't that bad. Like, sometimes you don't even use its ability and you just attack with an 8/10.
Yeah.
You know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like it should work a lot, but the fact is that 10 mana is just way too much.
Yeah, it probably should be less.
I, I, I will say I do like the flavor in that the king is unique. You know, there's only one king.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I think I would put this card in C plus if we had it.
yeah,
Honestly, I'd be happy putting it in B than C.
be though with
I
him.
I think it's better than the 4/2 with range you've got there. You know, but that's
Yeah,
just me.
I mean, I guess you're right. It's more on rate, so it has some kind of use, I guess.
So,
But
what are your problems with the card? What makes you want to put it lower?
it's really slow.
Yeah.
Like it's slow to get to, and it's slow to do its thing.
Yeah, yeah. Having said that, I think if you get to 10 mana and you're in a top deck situation, it's not the worst top deck in the world. You know, you
Yeah,
play it, you probably amp it, you kill a thing straight away, you affect your board, you affect theirs, and you draw a card.
yeah. Okay, so moving
I
on.
know it's a bit weird.
We got Loot the Body. So it's a 1 mana that gives a creature death blow, and it steals a card from your opponent's deck, and that's random, and it adds it to your hand, which is important to know. And then its
Yeah,
enhance is it steals 2 cards instead for 4 coins, which is a
yeah,
lot of coins, by the way. You're
that's a
putting
lot of coins.
it's a lot of coins to put on one creature. It's a lot of investment on a creature. So
Um,
it's really fun. It's really fun to put like 3 of these all enhanced on one creature and then steal like 6 cards from their deck every time you death blow.
that's it. I think you said it. It's fun. It's definitely a fun card. in terms of how good it is, it doesn't line up with how fun it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, obviously one mana is not a lot, but the fact that you have to have a creature on board already, which is whatever. But you giving the creature Death Blow. We've already talked about how Death Blow isn't very consistent when you're trying to trigger it.
I think
Um,
I think it's better than like taunting. You,
giving
I f
you reckon this card is better than Taunting?
yeah, I think so.
Okay,
So like
why is that?
because taunting it's way more mana and way more investment for a draw, while this is
Yep,
1 mana to hopefully get a draw.
yep. That will be where I would lead as well. Taunting just being 3 mana. This
Hmm.
card's inherently better than Taunting because it's 1/3 of the cost.
Yeah. I feel like
um,
I feel like a lot of the time probably the coins aren't worth it to get two
yeah.
cards
I
instead.
this feels like a card you'll probably never enhance. Um,
Because like
but
the enhance is so punishing.
yeah. But even on top of that, so I say this is a card you never enhance, but I also think it's a card you'll probably
Y
rarely trigger.
yeah.
You know, like this card can be this card opens up yourself to being 2 for 1. You know, you use this on a creature of yours, then attack, and then they don't block it. They take, I don't know, whatever damage. Then they use a removal spell on your creature, and you've just gotten 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Like,
Um, it's
yeah,
it's I think it's better than like Altaran and these. I feel
really.
like it will.
I would put this in C minus to F tier.
Well, think about it. You're getting a draw, and then you're also taking a card from their deck, so that is killing their resources. So
Like,
you're kind of like
I guess,
if you're putting just the 1 mana on like a 1 mana card, you're kind of baiting them into killing the card or spring trapping it in a way. Which,
but then you still come out bad in that exchange. Because
yeah,
if you're putting it on a 1 mana creature, what are the chances that 1 mana creature actually kills a thing? You know, they'll probably just
yeah.
take the 1 damage or 2 damage that they're taking from the 1 mana creature until they play a 4 drop that can
I mean, it does have
kill it.
synergy with like Trapjaw and stuff. So like, if there's something like, there are good synergies with this card. There's like, Untaming Destroyer. You can put on Untaming Destroyer,
Yep.
stuff like that. So that there is synergy. It's just, I think it's better than King Altaran because King Altaran doesn't do anything for like 7 years, and then Boomstick just dies super easily. This actually has a chance to do something for you, but doesn't always. But it's better than like this guy, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then we got Master Alchemist. So he's a 9 mana 7/7 that he has 1/1 plus for every 2 coins you have. I think the max of him is like 14/14, right?
Yeah. So if you have the max coins you can have is 15. So for every 2 coins, that means 14. And
I
wait, yeah, for every 2 coins it's +1 +1. So 14 would be half of 14 is 7, and then 7 + 7 is 14.
so
So the most
it's
this guy can be is 14, 14.
yeah, it's either 14/14 or 15/15. I don't remember if
Yeah.
I think they round up, but I think it's 15/15 is his max.
N- No, I think it rounds down. So because if you have 1 coin, he doesn't get +1 +1.
Uh, so it's 14/14?
Yep. So the biggest this card can be is 14, 14
Wait,
from just its own ability. You
and
know.
then its enhance is whenever you activate him, he gains 2 coins. You gain two
Yep.
coins, and then an amped for 3 coins. So that first turn you do him, you are going -1 coin, but you're getting his enhance. So you're probably gonna want to enhance him if you're gonna play him to get that. You can
Um.
the biggest advantage of him is you can surprise your opponent with him, and then also he can gain you coins.
Yeah. I think honestly what I like most about the enhanced on this card is the amped. So because if you've sandbagged your coins until the late game to play this, because he's 9 mana, you're gonna be in the late game when you play him. Um, if you just you enhance it for 3 coins and have like 4 left over or 5 left over, he's gonna be like a 9/9 with amped. You can just surprise them with 9 damage out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
which
you
is
can.
which isn't bad.
Yeah, surprising with damage is better than not surprising with damage.
That's it. Yeah.
But
Um.
you kind of have to play a deck around him, though. You have to play a deck that wants to stack up coins and kind of keep a high amount of coins to really play him to his best ability. And then you're probably going to be playing Great Rev as well.
Yeah, this card pairs fantastically with Great Rev.
Because also he is pretty good synergy with Necromancy. Because he
Yeah. Yeah,
because
because he can get bigger from his own ability.
because he only loses 3 health from
Hmm.
Necromancy. And then he's also like 5 mana from Necromancy. But like he won't.
I didn't even consider his interaction with Necromancy, to be honest. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so he's like the modern kind of lumbering striker deck in a way.
Yeah.
So like he's
Yeah.
he's kind of geared more towards like a control deck where you're trying to your win con is going to be Great Rev with him.
Yeah. How does this guy interact with like damage and his +1/+1? So like, say you have no coins, then he takes a damage, so he goes to be a 7/6, and then you activate him to gain 2 coins. Does he go back up? Does he go to being an 8/7?
I don't think so. I
Okay, so
I
like he doesn't
I
gain more health as you.
I
I
haven't
don't know.
tested it,
Neither.
but
Um,
I
way
think it doesn't really make sense where you would regain that health. I think he would just
Yeah.
go up. He would just go. He would just stay the, about the same, or
Yeah. Okay. I think that's one to test.
but
Having said that though, this is kind of like Brutish Extortioner, where it's kind of like big body for big mana.
I th
But the thing is, he has extra abilities that the
I th
Extortion doesn't have in
I th
Amped.
I think
Like
he's
getting
better
coins.
than Extortioner because you can use
Oh,
him.
definitely.
You can use him to surprise your opponent, and then also he can be used as like in your back when you're not attacking or whatever. You can gain up your coins.
Yep.
So he kind of synergizes with his own deck in a way.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that like he's like Extortioner plus, right? He has the big boot, the big body, um, but as well he just has like all of the other abilities that actually work with whatever you're trying to do in your deck,
So
right? Which is the Grey Rev.
I don't think he's as high as these guys. I don't think
I
he.
don't think he's quite an A, but I would put him towards the top of B tier.
Yeah, I agree. He's like high B. I
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty big difference between these two, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree.
And then we have Paladin of Orallus. I have not memorized the names yet of the cards.
Honestly, a lot of the models even look quite similar. Where I'm like, normally I look at art of cards to like, oh yeah,
Like
the
like this guy's got the Garnian look. Why is he not noble?
yeah. I rely on the art of the cards to really like know what the card is, and a lot of the Plunderers Guild cards look kind of samey. A lot of the creatures, particularly. I don't know, no problems with the spells.
Yeah, okay, so
But yeah,
he's an 8 mana that has amped and 1 man army, and he's a 4/8, so he's got a good stat line. And then he's a noble, so he gets all the noble support. And
yep,
then on entrance, he gives 1 man army to 3 other friendly creatures until the end of the turn. And then enhance remove until the end of the turn for 4 coins. So basically, for 4 coins, you make it permanent for those 3 creatures to have 1 army.
yep,
I think that that 4 coins is worth it.
yep. I'd
Uh,
agree.
I think it's justified.
Um, yeah. Compare the 4 coins that you're spending on this to the 4 coins you'd be spending on
Torch
um
carrier.
No, I was gonna say, what's that card we just went over before? Loot the body.
Yeah, it's way more worth it to do 4 coins on Paladin than loot the body.
Exactly. So the thing is, it's kind of like this is 8 mana. He's got eight. He's got 8 health, which is important. Like four is a bit low attack, but that's a small price to pay for him having 1 man army and amped himself.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact that he gives 3 other things 1 man army just lets you go for an all out surprise, attack. Like if you can give, so you're in a bit of picture this scenario, right? You're in a bit of a board stall with your opponent, and you're kind of like you're mid game, and the health is, the health is on its way. It's like halfway health. You're both at like 15 to 20 or whatever. But you need to start trying to trade with their board or like put pressure on their health. And this card does that fantastically because you at 8 you just play it and you give 3 other things 1 man army and attack. Now your opponent has to make the decision of whether they take, you know, 4 creatures worth of damage or trade off their board because they're probably not going to kill the 1 man army things.
Yeah, this guy.
Like it's a bit of a board breaker.
Yeah, if you get to that point with the 8 mana, he feels really strong. Feels really good to play. Because your opponent is most likely not going to kill those creatures because they have 1 man army. Because dealing with 3 creatures with 1 man army, or 4 creatures, I mean, is a lot different than dealing with just one.
Yep, that's the. I think you're right with that assessment. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that the the ability called 1 man army is better when multiple people are in the army as opposed to 1 man.
Yeah, it's better
Yeah,
to have more
I'd
1 man
agree with that.
armies.
Yeah,
I think he's an S, but like because like an asterisk, like you have to get to that point for him to be good.
yeah, yeah. I think just for that, like I wouldn't put this guy in the same tier as Daring Swindler and Jagir Copymage. I'd probably put him in A.
Yeah, I think he's an A as well.
I think he's an A.
Which I think this is where higher mana cards should be. Pretty strong, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like actually,
And I really like that this is like a big mana card that doesn't fall prey to Spring Trap in a
yeah.
way that a lot of other big mana cards do. Because if they Spring Trap this, he's got amped, you just attack with him again, and you just give 3 other things 1 man army. Like you get all that value all again if they really want to Spring Trap him.
It is nice to see that we're actually putting an 8 mana up here.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot for a big cost thing to catch my attention.
Yeah,
And this card has.
because like the big manas, they have to do something incredible to compensate for that time where you can't play them at all.
Yep. I agree.
But it does feel great to actually put a high mana up here
Yeah.
and not be
Well
like
done. Well done,
incredibly,
designers.
yeah, and not be incredibly broken
Yeah.
like Magi.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and then Party of the Roaring Mutt. So it's 5 mana, so it's a 2/3. It's an underling. Doesn't matter at all right now.
Yeah. I think at this stage there are no underling matters cards in the game.
Yeah, underling doesn't
Maybe,
matter right
maybe we'll
now.
get some soon. So maybe they're like paving the way for it to matter, but as it currently stands, it doesn't do anything.
But on entrance, it summons a copy of itself on the board, and then it enhances 3 coins to make another copy. So it's 3 copies. Wait, no, 2 copies
Yep.
of itself. So it summons 3 units
Yep.
if you enhance him. I really like this card.
Yeah.
So
Um.
he's got a good stat line for summoning a bunch of copies of himself. So
Yeah. That's it. Like
this,
it feels a little weird to give a 5 mana 2/3 a bit of a bump, but the fact that obviously just because it's not just a 5 mana 2/3, it's 5 mana for 2/3s,
yeah,
which
it's
is 5 mana for 4/6, which is on rate.
yeah, this stat line is a very meta stat line.
Yeah. And I think what really puts it over is that magic number 3 health instead of 2.
And then also you
Um,
can buff it in
yeah,
your
the
hand.
fact that this looks it looks pretty bare bones, but that's because that's for your that's your job to be giving him the buffs in your hand.
Yeah.
And that's where I think his power lies. He's very synergistic with I mean some of the cards we've already gone over. Frontline Squire is very good with it. Is that it?
Well, Frontline
Is that it so
Squire,
far?
Weapon Carrier. You,
Yeah. We still yet to go over some more cards. But the fact is, this guy wears a buff beautifully.
oh yeah, and also Jagir copies buffs in your hand.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I kind of like this card. I haven't really played with it, but every time I've had it played against me, um, it definitely feels like it does its job of gumming up the board and, well, not so much gumming up, it's putting presence on the board. And when he gets even like a single buff, it's kind of just nuts.
Yeah, he when you buff him, he's really good. I really like this card.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
he's I,
having said that,
I think he's like an A.
yeah, having said that, that's it. So he's an A and not higher because this isn't a card I just play in any old deck. Um, you
You
know,
you can
it's fine. It's fine for 5 mana, 2 or 4 6 of stats. But what you really want to be doing to put it over the edge is buffing it. So you have to play it in decks that buff cards in your hand.
but I mean base he's still pretty good, but you're probably not gonna play him outside of like a buff deck where you're
That
trying to buff your own
that's
team.
it. So it's like base. I would put him in B tier. You'll probably find something better. But in a deck specifically where you buff him in your hand, he can definitely be bumped up because he has that extra synergy.
Like he just got really good synergy with this guy.
Yeah,
Okay, and then we
I'm
got
I'm happy to put him in A.
so Passion Liquidator. It's a 6 mana, 7/5, and then when you take direct damage, so you shuffle an Assassin Strike into your opponent's deck, and then for his enhance, you shuffle 2 instead for 3 coins. You're probably gonna enhance him because why not?
Yeah, at six mana, you're probably going to have 3 coins to spare.
Okay, so my favorite combo with him is you can play Dark Matter Blast and it activates his ability. You can
Yep,
play Stellar Shard. That makes it so that every turn you're putting 2 Assassin Strikes in your opponent's deck. I mean, keep in
yep,
mind that's slow, but you are putting a lot of attack on board as well.
yep. So like in terms of rate, he's kind of there. 7/5 for 6 mana is there. The problem in this, in my opinion, the problem is that his ability feels kind of. It feels like it doesn't exist purely because Assassin's Strike is just so low. He's definitely fun, like you said. He works with Dark Matter Blast and Stellar Shard, which makes for a fun deck. But whether that's actually good
It's
is
it's
is
kind of
probably up for debate.
I've
I
tried
wouldn't put him.
I've tried it, but I feel like if I just cut out the Assassin Strike part entirely, the deck just would become better.
Yeah, yeah. I think we mentioned it. We had mentioned it here, but we've talked about this before, well, before the chat today. Where it feels like you're getting more damage out of just attacking with him than going through all the trouble of putting Assassin Strike into their decks and them drawing it.
Yeah, you're gonna
You
get
know,
more
like
more damage out of his attack.
yeah, you just attack with him once, and you've probably gotten more damage than you're ever going to get with Assassin Strike
Yeah.
because of his ability. So I guess in that sense, you could probably consider this as just a 6 mana 7/5, bit of a brutish extortioner problem.
Yeah, like
He's just big body.
yeah, he's big boy. But like Assassin Strike, I feel yeah, Assassin Strike it feels like it's kind of like a time bomb right now, but like you just
Mm,
rather play Ritual of Annihilation or something else. Or like you'd rather play an engine of uh coin base like with
yeah,
the Master Alchemist.
yeah. I think the your comparison there to Ritual of Annihilation really nails it. Why would I make my whole deck based around this mechanic of playing all these admittedly bad cards to put in Assassin's Strike into my opponent's deck, then go through all the work of them drawing it to do 5 damage when I can just play one card? It doesn't really rely that much on the rest of my deck. I just wait 8 turns and do 20 damage. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like
Yeah.
why? You're gonna get way
Yeah.
more damage out of a Ritual Annihilation over like how many games that it goes off? Like every like 1 in 10 games it goes off. You're probably gonna get more damage out of that than Assassin's Strike. Or like
Yeah.
it's probably way more than that. But like if you get it every 1 in every 5 games, you're doing 4 damage every game. That's probably more than an Assassin's Strike deck, right?
Yeah. Probably. That's the funny part.
You're
So
probably getting
in
like
terms of
you're probably getting like 6 damage max out of an Assassin's Strike deck.
yeah.
Out of the Assassin's
Um
Strikes.
yeah. In terms of Passanian Liquidator itself though, I think it's the funny thing is I think it's a necessity for the Assassin's Strike deck at all. If what you want to do is put Assassin Strikes into their deck, this is one of the better ways to do it,
Yeah,
and you have to play it because of that.
it's like the most reliable.
Yeah. So this is yeah. In terms of where the meta currently is and just how bad Assassin Strikes is, I wouldn't put this. I'd put this in C. Having said that, though, I think it's definitely something that you can keep an eye on. Maybe if Assassin Strikes get a buff or better, you know, the Assassin Strike deck becomes viable, it'll shift up. But I think as it stands, I don't think it's that
Yeah.
playable.
Yeah, I played it with just a ton of removal, and most of the time it would just kill your opponent by the attack. So you
Yeah,
probably have better ways of doing that kind of thing
yeah,
for
yeah,
more consistency.
yeah. It's sad, but I think this is a C.
I feel like
Probably above
do you,
probably above the Brutish Extortioner, to be honest.
yeah, probably because
But
there is combos with him.
yeah,
I like him, but he's fun to play around with. I feel
exactly. That's it. It's fun to play, but it's not good. Like it feels like you're doing all these cool synergies, like you mentioned with Dark Matter Blast and Stellar Shard, but the payoff for those synergies is not high enough for it to matter.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
we have Pickpocket of wait, Kradam? Yeah, Pickpocket of Kradam, right?
No, Pickpocket of Tomeral.
Oh, Tamara.
Or
So,
Tomeral. I don't know how to
yeah.
pronounce it.
So basically, this is a 4 mana 3/2 that on entrance it gains 2 coins, and then its enhance is you spend 2 coins, which you're gonna get those 2 coins back on its entrance. So you're going neutral in cards, but you have to have those 2 coins to play it to do that effect. But it can surprise your opponent with a 5/3 unit on the board with amped. So you can surprise it's a coin economy that can be turned into a surprise 5 damage if
Yep.
you need it to do that. I
Yep. I'd agree.
so I think this is like a decent card. I just think you'd rather play other stuff right now.
That's it. So like I think it's important to note that this is a way to gain coins when you're not playing Plundering Guild as your primary faction. Again. And it's honestly it's not the worst in the world. Like 4 mana 3/2 is a little bit below rate, but the fact that you get the 2 coins is kind of important if you're playing it like that. Having said that, this card really goes up when you enhance it, which kind of and you kind of want to enhance the first one if you can. But the 4 mana for even if it's 5/3, like that's a which is a lot of damage coming at them. You'll probably find better things to do at 4 mana that kind of play into your strategy a bit more. Even as a top end of an aggressive deck, um, I think you can find better things,
Yeah. I,
which is unfortunate because I don't think this card's bad in any particular way. It's just outclassed by other cards.
so I think it's like a high B. I think it's around
I
like
would put
that
it in
same.
high B.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
I would put it in high B.
it's outclassed, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got Pickpocket. So it's a 2 mana that steals a random okay, so basically it puts a card from your opponent's deck into your deck. There. I explained it.
Yep. Yep. And you can enhance. You can steal two cards instead if you pay 1 coin.
So what is this doing for you exactly? I forgot.
Literally nothing. Literally nothing. You're. I don't know how to explain this. It's like a joke, like a yeah, it's like a casino dealer or something is just shuffling around the decks. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't affect the board state. It doesn't put a creature on your board. It doesn't remove one of their creatures. it doesn't even. It feels like it doesn't really advance your plan that much. Stealing, even if you're trying to like take cards out of the deck,
You can't choose them.
two, one you can't choose them. Two, like
If you
two mana to take two cards out of their deck and put them into yours. You're not getting them to your hand. Like, when are you going to see that value?
I
Who
mean,
knows?
it's 1 for 1 for stealing a card. 1 mana is not
The
worth stealing a card.
the problem is it doesn't put it into your hand.
Yeah.
Problem it puts it into your deck.
I mean, if you want to put it into your deck, make it more cards.
100%. That's the way I would make this card playable. But as it stands, I think this is solidly F tier.
Yep. Because, like, it doesn't do anything for you.
Exactly.
I mean, it
And
kind of hurts your synergy. I mean, I guess you could steal an important card from your opponent's deck, but that's a big asterisk. You could.
yeah. Yeah, the fact that it's not controllable really in any way is what really kills it. The fact it goes into your deck like adds so much to the randomness.
I mean,
It's just
if it was a 1 mana card that you choose one card to steal from your opponent's deck, that would be good.
then maybe I'd buff it to put it up to C tier.
Yeah.
Because it still does the same thing in that you're spending 1 mana to not affect the board
But
and
like
maybe eventually C.
stealing their rallying totem though.
Yeah. I mean that's also the case. Like even in your hypothetical situation where it was you got to choose the card for 1 mana, what if they're just not playing a deck that's so synergistic? What if they're just playing a generic like what if they're playing like Lich, where all the cards are just good? You like
Steal
what is taking
steal
I guess the
their
the
rallying
rallying
totem.
totem's good. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's a good. They're playing they're playing an aggro deck where you don't play rallying totem.
But I feel like that
No,
just
those don't
tells
exist.
I think that's a tell of how powerful rallying totem is.
Yeah, that's a that's a rallying totem problem, not a
Yeah.
pickpocket problem. Um, yeah,
But
it just feels like you have to do so much so much waiting for this card to do anything,
oh,
and it also plays into not giving you the opportunity to wait because it doesn't affect the board.
Spanish. I just remembered the best use of this card
What's that?
to annoy your opponent because it takes like 12 seconds to play.
Go for the tilt value, make them concede because the game's taken too long. Hoping their battery runs out. That's your win con.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Pillaging Prince. So it's a 2 mana on rate 2/2. That's a noble that has activate plunder for 1 coin. So you choose a card from any card in the game from 3 choices. And then it enhances gaining 2 extra health for 1 coin. I would say you always enhance this card.
If you have the option to enhance this, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
It's always better to enhance it to make your opponent spend that extra 2 coins on the dead or alive if they want to get rid of it.
Yep.
Then, because like
that's it.
and then also
it's kind of like
adding 2 health is definitely worth 1 coin.
That's it. And the thing is, at 2 mana, this card so like 2 mana 2/4 is kind of above rate from a lot of the other cards in the game. I don't really know any other 2 mana cards that have that stat line.
Yeah, it's got a really good stat line.
Which is a really good stat line. And I think it's important to note. So like if they want to get rid of it, they have to Dead or Alive, enhanced, or they have to be playing Zarathrix or like Mastery of some sort to Dark Matter Blast. But like even if they Dark Matter Blast, like if they don't have any Mastery, this survives a Dark Matter Blast, which is huge, right?
Yeah. It quickly gets out of those zones. It's just,
exactly.
It's so funny how a 2 mana card gets the same amount of health as a 5 mana card.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
I think
that's talking on the enhanced side though. What I like to describe this card as a non-unique Garnian. So you think of how many players loved playing Garnian, because it's just a 4 mana draw card every turn. But that's exactly what this card does, except he's not unique and he's 2 mana, and he's a 2/4 instead of a 2/2.
And then also you can get Magi.
That's it. You can. And this is the thing. It's arguably. We were discussing this yesterday. A plunder as an ability is arguably better than drawing a card because even though the 3 cards are presented to you that are not, they might not necessarily be synergistic with your deck. The fact that there's 3 and you get to choose whichever one just suits, suits the how the game's going at that particular moment. Maybe you need a removal spell, so you pick the removal spell, or you say you need an on-rate creature, so you pick the creature. Like, Plunder is just arguably better than drawing a card in most situations.
Yeah, and also you're not running through your resources.
Exactly. And then all of that, and this is a noble.
Yeah.
You want value on value, you play this with a Barony Socialite, and just keep going. Just keep getting all those, keep plundering.
Yeah, you plunder on plunder on plunder.
Yeah. I think this card is solidly S tier.
Yeah, it's an S, definitely. I didn't think the enhance was that good right away, and then I realized, oh wait, you always enhance it.
Yeah. At first, this card, so when I was like testing around, playing around with stuff in the beta, this card is a card I also looked over, similar to Daring Swindler, because I think I undervalued Plunder. And then even the 0, like the +0/+2 is kind of like, oh, whatever, it's just a big body for little, but like those 2 abilities do a lot more work than it feels like they sound like they do at first glance.
Yeah.
To the point where it pushed it way over for me. I pretty much run it in any Plundering Guild deck I can.
Oh, and it's also a really good outlet for extra coins you have.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you think of it as basically this will 2 for 1 an aggressive deck, basically, because they have to spend 2 cards to just deal with it because of the butt on it, the health it has.
Yeah. The big,
which is where
the big chungus it's got.
Yeah, so the 2 for 1 an aggressive deck for just 2 mana is pretty good.
Okay, and then we got Poison Bomb. Honestly, this card, I feel like they wanted it to be anti-aggro, but it's not.
Yeah, this card, okay, we'll explain what it is. So it's a 4 mana spell with, at the beginning of your next turn, deal 3 damage to all creatures. And you can enhance it for 3 coins to only do the damage to your enemy creatures instead. Now, this is a board wipe.
Yeah.
Right? It's a board wipe. It clears the board. The problem is it's a bit slow. Initially, I didn't think the slowness would matter that much. I was much higher on this card. Then I started playing with it a bit, and kind of started to realize that maybe it wasn't all it felt like it was cracked up to be.
I think what this card is good at is slowing down in the middle game. So
exactly.
Once you're like in past that early game, when you're playing like a deck that really wants to get into the late game, then you play this card to slow down your opponent. So like one thing you can do is play it when your opponent has like nothing on board. I know it sounds dumb, but it makes your opponent most likely just flip their turn.
Yep.
Or they play their own Poison Bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it when you said this is more better against mid-rangey decks than it is against aggressive decks, because of exactly what you said, where if you play it, they're likely not going to play any more cards for their turn and then just attack with their creatures and that's it. The problem is with an aggressive deck, is that's exactly what they want to be doing. They get value out of attacking you. Whereas a mid-range deck that's trying to go a little bit longer into the game than an aggro deck this is more devastating, because the attacks that they're doing on you isn't necessarily what they're trying to do anyway. So you're forcing them to make a decision that they probably wouldn't do initially anyway. Whereas, playing it against an aggressive deck, they're very happy to just attack you.
Yeah. So basically, it only comes in on turn 5, which aggressive decks are probably killing you on turn 5.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah, I think this card, if they wanted to actually make it more viable against aggressive decks, the mana cost just needs to come down. It needs to come out sooner.
Yeah.
I don't hate the philosophy of the card, how it waits a turn. That adds like interesting play and counterplay. It's just that it depends what they want it to target maybe they're happy for it to target the mid-range decks, you know.
Yeah, who
And
knows?
then in that case, we have to rely on things like Fireball and Bullet to manage the aggro decks.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
I think I actually like this card. In that
I
specific
would put this
situation.
in A.
Yeah, I agree.
Having said all this, I'd put it in A. Like it's not the fact. It's sad that it doesn't affect aggro decks in the way you think, but that doesn't mean it's without use.
Oh, and one bad thing about this is the 3 coins to enemy means that you're really not gonna splash this in. You're not gonna get that only enemy side with secondary Plundering Guild.
Exactly. Yep.
You're only gonna use
I'd
this as a
agree.
big boy nuke in the
Exactly. Yeah.
secondary
The
Plundering Guild.
yeah. If you're with when your secondary faction is Plundering Guild, you're forced to play the cards that gain you coins, and they tend to only give you 2 coins. So that means you need to play 2 of those cards to get enough coins to enhance it, which means, you know, the chances of you drawing out of the 10 cards in your deck that are probably Plundering Guild, or 7 cards, I guess, because you're probably playing 3 poison bombs, is just so unlikely. Yeah, you're just never going to be enhancing this as a secondary faction.
Yeah, because you just can't.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got Potion of the Weald. Okay, F tier. Moving on.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well
I
that's
think we're gonna get into a bit of a red zone here because I think this is actually a good card.
okay, I think this is really slow of a card, but I
Yeah.
actually don't think it's full on F. Maybe it's like
So,
C, but like
all
let's
right.
talk
Well,
about it first.
of course, of course. So it's a 4 mana spell. You shuffle all non-token cards in your graveyard into your deck. You can enhance it, and you add. They cost 1 less mana for 3 coins. So, why do you think it's bad? Why do you think
Uh,
it's instantly F tier?
I actually don't think it's instantly F tier. I was being dramatic.
Okay.
I think that we're not in a really good state for it right now. I mean, if you're
Yep.
playing a deck that's trying to fatigue your opponent out and you're playing more of a control, yeah, I
Mhm.
can see the potential for it to be better than it is right now. So like if there was more control cards, it would maybe be good, but you it comes in really late.
Yeah.
Putting your non-tokens back into the deck is at least you're keeping your synergy in your deck, unlike Spellbook Forgery. I think talking about that back to back is important.
Yeah.
Those are similar cards, I would say.
Yep. Yep. I'm happy with that.
And then the enhance, you're probably gonna enhance it if you're doing it, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
So
you have your opinions on this one?
yeah. So I think you're mostly right. This card, it doesn't do anything currently. Like right now is kind of the keywords I think of what you said just there. So um obviously like we live in an aggro world at the moment in cards and tankers. Like a lot of fast aggressive decks is kind of where it's at. Um Even the mid-range decks lean towards more, you know, surviving the aggro decks and then winning from there. There's probably no control decks I've seen that are viable. Um which is funny because a lot of the best cards in the game are removal. You'd think that's exactly how a control deck wants to play. But the second that there is a viable control deck, I think this card would be the win con in that um
Outlive your
that you
opponent.
try to win by fatigue. You cast one of these cards and your opponent's going to be fatiguing way before you do.
But
Um
I feel like in that situation, your opponent's probably going to be fatiguing before you anyway. Because, like, you're probably just going to want to play, like, Call of the Old God and stuff to, like, make it so that you don't have as many cards in your deck. You just slow
well
down.
remember Call of the Old God draws you a card as well.
Yeah, it
But
does, but it puts 2 cards in your deck.
also draw your cards. Like
Yeah.
the the thing is it's like the way that this card I see is being the win con of like a win conless control deck. So I love and in other games I've played, when you play a control deck, you have to have a win con. Obviously, you have to win the game. Um, and it tends to be that the most miserable and successful control decks do that with a card that plays into the strategy of still being control, but winning in the least the least overt way. So as an example of your before you put forth Master Alchemist, is that what it's called, as
Yeah.
the finisher of a control deck, because it's like a big thing and you can attack with it. But you picture a control deck that doesn't have probably doesn't have a single creature, and you just clean their board every single time you play it. You gain a lot of health so that they can't kill you, and then you just play Potion of the Weald, and then your opponent literally just draws all their cards, and then you deal with everything, and then they die. Feels a
Yeah.
bit miserable to play against, but like every single card in your deck as a control deck matters in that any card that doesn't deal with a thing is like a dead draw, which I guess is kind of what this is. But this is when this is your win con, it gives you all of your answers back.
Yeah.
Um,
It gives you all
it's
your
it's
like
it's kind of weird.
removal.
Yeah. So the problem with that, all of that though, is that it's exactly what you said. It's not good right now. There
Like
isn't a viable control deck that does that.
you just
There's
you just rather play like Zealous Archivist or something to get
yeah,
back your cards right now rather than
yeah.
to
There's
put
too
them in your
much
deck.
there's too much random value in the creatures, and while we have good removal, it's not good enough in that we can't have this kind of deck. But I think this is definitely a card to keep an eye on as something that will do that.
I guess C
Um,
tier is
I
good.
think C tier is where I put it now, but honestly, I think this has the potential to go up to A, even S tier.
Yeah. Well, I think that the problem
Uh,
with removal, it's not the removal, it's that there's such bad stat lines for like mid-range mana stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah. So
the Flesh Golem has 6 attack, 4 health, dies by a 1 mana card.
yeah.
Okay, but we
So
got
yeah, we can
Spellbook
talk about
Forgery. I think this is
so.
like, in my opinion, I think this is a worse version of Potion of the Wild.
I agree. So we can go over it again so we can like draw the comparison. So it's a 5 mana unique card.
Why is
It's
it
a spell that
unique?
adds. Why is it unique? That's the first question. But it adds 10 random spells to your deck. You reduce their mana cost by 1. But if you enhance it, you can halve their mana cost instead for 3 coins.
Okay, first, halving mana cost is not going to do anything when the only good mana cost cards are 1 through 4.
Yep.
And then
Um,
also, you can get tons of really bad cards from this.
exactly. So the reason this is like a worse potion of the Weald is that yes, it adds more cards into your deck, which is kind of what Potion of the Weald is doing anyway. But the fact is, you don't have any control of how impactful those cards are going to be. I would rather shuffle cards that I've put into my deck back into my deck, when I build the deck,
Yeah.
versus 10 random spells. Like, what if I get a taunting, a campaign prep, like
A one
these
to
random spells that
notice.
don't do anything. I want to notice, yeah, when we get to it. So what if you get those cards and then now you're playing bad cards in your deck that will kill your later draws,
Yeah.
right?
You're killing your
And then all of
synergy
that,
for like no
yeah,
reward.
all of that, and it's 5 mana instead of 4, and it's a unique. So even if you wanted to like do this funny add 10 random spells to your deck, and if you had some way to confirm that they were good, you can only do it once. This is a unique card. Yeah.
Okay,
I think this card's F tier.
yeah. Why is it unique?
Yeah.
There are much, much better cards that are not unique.
Yeah. I mean, I consider it F tier in terms of how good it is. Of course, it's very fun to play. It's always fun to just like you see all the 10 cards going into your deck and you get a little giddy and you're like, oh, when I draw that, it's going to be good. But you'll find that doesn't happen as often and reliably as you want it to.
It actively hurts you. That's
Yeah.
that's the big part of F. It actively hurts you most of the time.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
we got Priest of Kradam. So it's 5 mana and it's a 5/4. So on entrance it gives amped to a random. I don't like that word right there. Creature in your hand.
Yep.
And then its enhanced makes it amped and restless for 2 coins. Why is it 2 coins? It's already random.
so
Why is it 2 coins?
yeah, the restless as well. Like, is restless really worth 2 coins? Probably not. Um, I don't think this card's that good.
I don't think
But
it, I agree.
you kind of put it forward yesterday when we had a chat. It was kind of, what cards do you want to give Amped and Restless to? What cards are like go from being so-so to like the synergy of having Amped and Restless breaks it? And we couldn't really find any where that's backbreaking. Like the only thing we could find was Lumbering Striker. Feels really good in that, you know, it has multi-blocker and it doesn't get exhausted, but Lumbering Striker doesn't really see play as a 10 mana 15/15 creature. Like you're not playing it
Yeah.
because you want a 15/15 on the board. You're probably doing some great revitalization nonsense with it.
And I feel like giving something amped is inherently like an aggro kind of thing it wants to do, but it's 5 mana, so it doesn't get played.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, the other side of that is, you know, maybe you just give amped to a random thing and that makes it good. And you're right. The things that you want to give amp to cost a lot less than this. This would be the theoretically you'd play this as like the top end of an aggro deck because you think amped is for aggro, but you
If
don't have anything that you want to put it amped on anymore because they're already on the field.
I mean, if this was 1 mana 1/1, it would probably see play.
Oh yes, if this was 1 mana 1/1, I would be playing this in aggro decks all day.
Yeah. If that tells you
Um,
how that this effect is just very aggro. It just wants to be aggro.
yeah,
Because amped is a very aggro aggressive thing.
yeah. Having said that, you know, 5/4 isn't anything to sniff at. It's just a little below rate, but like, you know, what isn't below rate at bloody
Yeah.
mid range anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
but
what?
like, yeah,
Like why is this
the
below rate? Why is it not above rate?
yeah the ability doesn't really perk my ears up to really
Why is it killed
make me want
by
to play it.
Dead or Alive
Yeah, and Fireball.
and Fireball?
Yeah. Um, I think this is C tier.
I think these cards are overpowered just because of the fact that they really are terrible at giving good stat lines to mid-range mana levels.
Yeah. So like even just now, look at all the cards we've gone over, right? The cards that are in S tier either get value so quickly, or they have such great synergy, or they 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 counter, I guess, a Fireball and Dead or Alive nice in that they get their value. You know, like every other thing here is basically considered around those two cards. Like you look at I guess
Yeah.
the B tier. You know, the
Yeah.
Mastery Alchemist is kind of there for a different reason, but like a lot of the stuff there is the toughness is too low because of those cards. Anything in C tier is already just a bad rate card or dies to those things.
Yeah,
It's just
like okay, look at how many low mana cards are up here and then look at how many high mana cards are down here.
yeah. Um yeah, to kind of a testament to how good those cards are and how meta defining they are. But yeah,
Okay, and then
all
we
right.
got recruitment effort, right? That's what it's called,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah. Recruitment effort.
And then we got it's summon, so it's a 3 mana summons an adventure, so it's basically like a 3 mana 2/2 right away, and then
Yep.
so it does something right away, and
Yep.
and then it shuffles 2 adventurers into your deck, and then 4 for 2 coins, 4 instead for 2 coins.
Yep.
I think this is like one of the better noble support that we got right now.
Exactly. Yep. So a reminder is that adventurers are nobles. So this is like a noble for 3 mana, kind of like Jagir Copymage, but it also puts more nobles into your deck. So maybe you won't see the value from the other nobles, but the fact that you're getting at least something straight up is what makes it playable compared to say the Dagger Supplier,
Yeah,
right?
and yeah, it does have combos with the Altaran's Armory. So
Yep.
you play this and then into Altaran's Armory, you can do that. It also has
Yep.
combos with Socialite,
Yep.
so
Um
it's probably
the
one of the
only
better noble support, I would say.
See, this is the thing, it's like it's kind of one of the better noble supports. The problem is it's like it's still not that impactful. Like 3 mana 2/2 noble just for the noble synergy is like you'll play it, but as more nobles come out, you know, what if we get like a 3-mana 3/3 noble? I'll probably play that over this, even though this one shuffles 2 adventurers into my deck.
Yeah.
You know, like we say like it's one of the better noble synergy things at the moment, but that's I think because the nobles don't have a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, having said that, it's still fine. You know,
I
3-mana
think
2/2.
I think
I'd put this in high B,
yeah. High B
high B
probably.
to low A.
Yeah, it's probably high B.
Yeah,
'Cause
purely because of the issue with the usual issue with shuffling something into your deck and hoping to draw it. It's just not reliable.
yeah. And then we got the Spymaster of the guild. So it's a 7-mana ranged with 5/5, and then it shovels 5 Assassin Strikes into your opponent's deck, which is kind of lackluster for a 7-mana. And then it also, on its enhance, your Assassin Strikes does 1+ damage. You're basically playing 3 of these in the Assassin Strike deck. He's also a rare,
100%.
so fuck you to whoever plays Assassin Strikes.
Good, yeah, good. You got a lot of grinding to do to get your 3 of rare for it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen him in the shop either. It's a little sad. But yeah, this card is so like it's 7 mana for 5/5, right? So it's got range, but that still feels a little underrated.
I mean,
Um,
the ranged helps, honestly.
yeah.
But like
To, to be
if
to
it's
be honest, this is I think shuffling 5 Assassin Strikes into your opponent's deck, although still not good, it's probably like one of the best ways to put Assassin Strikes into your opponent's deck.
yeah.
Because I just know if I spend 7 mana, I think 5 of them are going in there. You know, I just know they're going in there.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad
Um.
when like you have like a possible 5 damage and he has to be on board for you to get that extra damage.
That's it. Yeah.
So he has to stay
Um.
alive,
Exactly.
but the range
Um.
does
Yeah.
help him stay alive.
Yeah. He costs 7 mana though. That's a lot of
Yeah.
mana for a 5/5. It's just you kind of said it how it's a little sad. It's like if you want to play the Assassin Strike deck, you have to play this card, and we're talking about the ways he's lackluster. You know. It's a bit of a sign that I don't that Assassin Strike is just not there. Um, the
Also,
the two
you're
the
probably
+1 damage when they draw an Assassin Strike is actually pretty warranted. Like you need a way to buff the Assassin Strikes, and this is one way to do it.
yeah.
But
It's the only way to make it somewhat viable. Well,
yeah,
yeah. And you're always buffing him. You're always enhancing him. There's no
yeah,
situation where you shouldn't. Which
exactly.
means
Yeah,
which means that the deck is very coin hungry.
yeah,
Looking at you,
which is
wanted
very cool.
notice.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. But yeah, I think yeah, maybe in the future they'll print more Assassin's Strike cards. Like maybe a lot more cards will have his second ability on him. So you know, if you can stack up like I don't know, like a 2 cost 2/2 that has Assassin Strikes deal one plus 1 damage, and you get like 3 of them going, and you have this guy, and then there's another card that on entrance shuffles in 3, and then there's another card that I don't know makes them draw 2 cards every turn or something. Like once maybe this is the beginning of like a big engine where maybe that we make drawing an Assassin Strike viable. That's a strategy, but he's one piece of many that the deck needs.
Yeah. You have to run 3 of, and running 3 of a 7 mana that you have to play makes it try to be a
Yeah,
control deck, but kind of fail at that.
yeah, um, yeah. So having said all that, it's it's kind of the same. What was it? We went over another card before that was like it feels like it goes. You need to play it in the deck, but it's bad to do so. Um, I would put this card overall in like B
Yeah, I agree.
and
It's
low B,
yeah, low B.
low B, because
Probably
it's
high,
like
probably
you
higher than
the
them because it actually has some kind of value.
yeah the you like the thing is you're only ever playing this in the Assassin Strike deck, and we're talking and in that when we're talking about that you were talking about a bad deck, right?
Yeah.
Like this card's not seeing play any other deck,
When
and
when
yeah,
the main card in a deck that you have to run is in B tier, maybe the deck
yeah,
is bad.
yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay, and then we got Torch
What are these?
Carrier. So this is a 6 mana Retaunt that has 5/6, and then when this creature is blocked, give a random creature in hand 1/1. And then gain 1-man army for 4 coins. Great deal, right?
Yeah, so we've kind of gone over like how one man army feels like a worse ranged. I don't think 4 coins is worth one man army,
Okay,
even on this card.
I like comparing it to this guy, to
Yeah.
Paladin of Orallus. So to give 3 guys permanent 1-man army, it's 4 coins. But to give himself 1-man army, he's special. He needs 4 coins.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of okay that in that one man army synergizes with taunt very well.
Yeah.
But it's still not worth 4 coins. Having said that, the card overall, it's like the rate isn't bad. 5/6 is up there. The ability feels like a death blow ability. Like anything that this blocks is gonna kill, which is basically death blow. But obviously, it's not anything that blocks it. You give a random thing in your hand +1/+1. Like, what if they just don't block it? They take they take 5 and then try and remove it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It
He
feels it feels
it,
weird.
it's his main ability is kind of meh, and then you kind of need that 1-man army, but it's way too
Yeah.
expensive right now.
Yeah. Having said that, I think the taunt is what really makes this card tick. Like you attack with it, they have if they want to block any of your other things, they have to block it,
Yeah.
which then you're getting the ability. The problem is at 6 mana, like what else are you giving in your hand +1/+1 where that +1/+1 makes difference?
Yeah,
You know?
you're that late into the game. There's better stuff you could do.
Yeah.
Just
Like
just play this guy, Frontline Squire. He gives
exactly.
+1/+1 for way much easier
Yeah.
and for way
Um
earlier.
yeah.
So I think he's like a C, probably, right?
Um I'd probably put him in low B. I think he's better than the 4/2 with ranged, you know?
Yeah. I
I,
don't
I
know.
still think that 4/2 with range should be in C.
Yeah, you're
But that's
probably
just me.
right. Um,
But like,
it's
like the
debatable.
the
It's debatable.
the five
There,
the 5/6 is just very like that feels like a fine stat line for 6 mana, you know?
I think these are comparable, these two. Right?
I think the 4 mana having 2 toughness or 2 health is just
It's so bad, yeah.
what kills. It's so bad. Like we put a card in F tier for 3 mana 3/2 because of its 2 toughness, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Which,
Like
yeah, you're probably right. It probably needs to fall.
I think they should be yeah.
C. Like honestly, it kind of fell. It's falling down.
Like well, this is the thing. There's enough good cards in Cards of Tankers that I probably am not playing anything in B tier and below.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's the difference really?
I mean, maybe like Master Alchemist,
Yeah,
but like he's kind of a certain. You have to play him in a certain deck to be decent.
yeah. And the thing is that I think that deck isn't viable at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I say I've never played it because I don't bother.
Okay, and then we get
All right.
Wandering Executioner. So it's a 4 mana 2/3 that on entrance it deals its attack as damage to a target creature. And then it enhances to gain a 2 extra attack for 2 coins. This is actually a pretty good
That's
card.
fantastic.
Yeah.
This is a very good card. Yeah.
It's kind
So
of slow. Sometimes you just would rather play other stuff, but it is a creature on board that's pretty on stat line that also is a removal.
yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that it's on stat line if you enhance it.
Yeah, if you enhance it,
But
but like you're
yeah,
probably gonna enhance it unless you're gonna
yeah.
buff it.
Other
If
ways, yeah.
if you're buffing it,
The
then it's
the
probably gonna be it's gonna
so the thing what I think puts this card like why we think so highly of this card is because it affects the board in 2 ways, right? You're putting your own creature on the board to block things that might be coming, but at the same time, you're getting your value when he comes in. You're killing one of their creatures no matter what, and then probably getting more value after when he blocks or attacks. Now, that's fantastic. Compare it to something like Pickpocket, which doesn't do any of that. It doesn't put anything on the board. It doesn't kill anything. This does it both. Um,
So where do we think we're gonna put it? Like A or like
I
S?
think I think this is A and probably high A.
Yeah, probably about here, I would say. I did.
Um,
I feel like it is a cut in many decks just because it's kind of slow.
yeah,
And
I would play this over the Adventurous Farmhand. But like so higher in A. But
mhm.
like whenever I play this card, it's kind of like the 33rd through 40th card that I put in my deck just because it's like decent value. And if Plundering Guild is my secondary faction, I'm just not making the 10, you know.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
because there's so many good cards, but like it's definitely if I could play 15 cards as my secondary faction, I would be playing it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It only misses out barely, and yeah,
It's
sometimes it doesn't even
y-
miss out.
yeah. Sometimes you just rather play Fireball and Dead or Alive,
Yeah.
because like those
But
are
that's
just
actually
so
that's actually a
impactful.
thing as well. The 3 toughness on it, the 3 health, it dodges that magic 2 number. You know.
Okay, and then I want you to go through my reaction of when I read this card for this first time of Wanted Notice. Okay,
Okay, give it a
so,
read.
yeah, so okay, I was like, okay, 1 mana. Oh yeah, it gains 2 coin. Nice, nice. Okay, shuffle an Assassin Strike into your opponent's deck for each coin. Ooh, that's pretty nice. Lose all coins. Okay, garbage. F tier.
Yeah. You said it. So like I think if this card didn't take away all of your coins, I think this might be a decent way to put assassin strikes into your opponent's deck, you know?
Yeah,
If you're sandbagging your coins, you're getting to like, turn 8, I don't know, and you have like 6 coins and then you just put 7 assassin strikes in their deck for 1 mana. Maybe then maybe then it's enough assassin strikes to get the deck going. But the fact you lose all your coins is just heinous.
yeah,
It's so bad, especially because of how undervalued putting an assassin strike in your opponent's deck is.
yeah.
This is just straight F tier.
It actively hurts you by playing it.
Yeah, it costs you a mana
And then
to
also,
lose all of your coins, and your opponent's like, "Oh, thanks for that."
uh, also, an Assassin Strike's deck is very coin hungry.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
you're right. Like, look at all the cards you have to play. So you have to play the Spymaster, which you have to enhance. You have to be playing the Passanian Liquidator, which you have to enhance. Like the cards that you play in the Assassin Strike deck to even stay alive, like they all require enhancing. So you're using all your coins as well. Like you're right. It's a very coin hungry deck.
you, why are you losing all your coins? It's not worth it to lose all your coins.
Exactly. Like, well, consider this. Would you play this if you didn't lose all your coins
Yeah, I would play it in Assassin Strike deck.
in exactly the Assassin Strike deck, and then not anywhere else, right?
Yeah,
If you didn't lose all your coins when you played this, what it'd be in B tier,
yeah.
and specifically in the Assassin Strike deck. Like, yeah, the card's bad.
Yeah. It,
It's an F tier.
okay, so we get Wealth Pummel. So it's a 3 mana, gain a coin, and deal damage equal to your coins. To a creature equal to your coins. I would
Yep.
compare this card to Mob Roll. So it
Yep.
is a tall removal card.
Yep.
So
I think that's actually a very good point to start assessing it. Like, the other factions have 3 mana removal spells, and this is this faction's, right? So you compare it to say like Poisoned Gift, which is terrible, no one plays. Right? It's much better than that. But the good comparison that you kind of pointed out was Mob Rule, where, you know, the mob the the MRA faction will, like, obviously you want to be playing a lot of creatures, so the removal spell of choice leans into that and gets better when you have more creatures. Well, this faction really likes its coins, so it leans into that by giving you a coin and dealing damage to your coins, right? So they both like good. And it's a very good comparison. I think this card is slightly better than Mob Rule, in its respective faction.
I would have
Um,
to disagree. In some ways
oh
it
wow.
is better because you're not relying on having a board state, but also you have to be stockpiling coins to be doing a good amount of
See, that
damage.
that's the thing. I don't think you need to stockpile that many coins. Sometimes you want to do like 3 mana and you only have to do 3 damage, right? That means you only need 2 coins.
Yeah.
That's not bad,
Yeah.
right? If in like mob rule probably scales better when obviously when you have mastery. That's probably what everyone anyone that does use mob rule is probably doing it that way. Um,
Yeah,
but like mob
mob
rule
rule.
scales better because you're already working towards your goal of putting creatures on the board, whereas something like Wealth Pummel is you want to be spending the coins that you're getting rather than stockpiling them. So I get that there's that to and fro there. The thing is that I think that you don't actually need that many coins to start getting value, and it gives you the coin.
Yeah, it
You know,
gives you a resource.
it gives you a coin. It's not like Wanted Notice where it takes it away. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
I
Having said that, I think there's better removal.
yeah.
There's much better removal. Like this is maybe something that our theoretic potion of the Weald deck plays because it wants more removal. Um,
You kind
and in fact,
of
I tried something out like that, and this was kind of the only way I could deal with tool things in that deck.
yeah.
Um,
So
but three mana is a lot. It is a lot to try and remove a creature like that. I think it's a pretty balanced card, but I think there's just better options for removal.
yeah, when a 1 mana can kill 5 manas.
Yeah. Yeah. I would put this in B tier.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I would.
maybe not towards the top, somewhere in the middle.
I think it's probably like low A, because like it's
Yeah,
still a
that's fair.
removal, so it kind of has that useful factor. Like I think it's better
Yeah.
than like Master Alchemist. I mean, you're gonna play it with Master Alchemist if you're playing a Master Alchemist deck, because that's what
Yeah.
you're trying to do. You're trying to
Yep.
use your coins, but you don't have to go that much out of your way to make this not too bad of a damage. But if you want to get up to
Yeah.
like 9 damage and stuff, you have to go really out of your way.
Yeah. Um, that's the thing. Like, I think you have to consider the card what its like average use would be, and like look at all the creatures we're rating here. Like a lot of it's 2, 3, 4, and then a bunch of the stuff jumps up to like higher. But like 2, 3, and 4 is like only casting this with 2 or 3 coins or 1 coin. Like which isn't that hard to accomplish.
Yeah, and then removal
So
tend
this will,
removal tends to
yeah,
be pretty high up there.
yeah. It's just that, yeah. I think you'll in general you're going to be removing the things that you want to with this card. It'll do the job.
Yeah. And then we got weapon carrier. So
Yeah, our
this is
last one.
yeah, last one.
Okay.
So it's a 2 mana 1/1 that's on entrance gives all creatures in your hand 1 health, and then and on its enhance it turns it into attack for 1 coin.
Yep.
I I think in most situations the health is more valuable than the attack, at least right now.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
because keeping
So,
your guys alive is pretty hard.
yep.
And giving
Um
it more health is more important.
yeah, this feels like a weird it feels like a cheeky card because at first you'd think that the enhancing you want the attack because, you do more damage. Like you get them dead quicker, so if you're playing this in aggro deck, that's what you want to be doing. But the thing is the health will probably get you more damage in the long run because if the thing stay with an extra health, a thing stays alive through a fight with another creature, then that's actually double the attack,
Yeah.
which is probably more than +1, probably like +3 attack if it can attack twice because of the extra health. Um, yeah, so like it is a 1/1 for 2 mana, so like it is below rate, but like at the
It's
ability is really good, like good enough that
it's
it's better.
justified.
Like it doesn't matter.
It's
It's
justified to
justified. It
be.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's a 1/1.
Yeah. It's
Um,
not like let's see here. This Dagger Supplier, which is not justified to be underrate, or Grave Robber, which is not justified to be underrate.
yeah, yeah. The ability on this is definitely worth it. Um, so yeah, but having said that, it's like its applications in aggro decks versus non-aggro decks is what I think is the interesting part about the design of the card. It's like, you know, it's a 2 mana creature. It's a body. That's what you want to be doing it as an early deck, and it like buffs the cards in your hand to be able to like have a powerful turn 3, I guess, by having paying above rate creatures. Um, but I found its uses in terms of aggro decks a bit lackluster. That I don't want to. It's not the pull towards Plundering Guild that I thought it would be. to play as an aggro deck.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather just
it's more to fight
yeah
against aggro decks in a way, in my opinion.
yeah like I yeah at first I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this in my aggro deck, and then I tried it out and I was like, you know what, I think I'd rather just stick to MRA and Dungeon Master, because like the cards that pull me towards being an aggro deck in Plundering Guild don't actually work as well in aggro decks as I thought they would. So like this being this and the Frontline Squire.
I think it's probably like low A.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this is an A, or maybe even high A. Honestly, like
Yeah,
it's not
maybe higher than
like
those. Because it does
what are the other
synergize with
things in
like
A?
Party of the Roaring Mutt. It
Yeah,
synergizes with like a good amount of stuff. It synergizes with Cautious Hunting Party because giving health to Cautious Hunting Party is really good.
yeah,
It's like it's got really good value for what it is.
yeah.
Is there any changes we would make to placing anything, or
Let me look over them.
because I didn't do that last few times, but it may be helpful to do that.
Yeah, I mean we already caught one, which I think the 4 mana 4/2 is a bit
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, he was probably not a B in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're probably right on
Um,
that one.
I think I feel like Loot the Body could be lower, and the same with Heirloom Enchantment. But honestly, anything B and
Uh-huh.
below, it's kind of like
Yeah, it's
all
gonna.
unplayable.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
really know how
yeah.
much that matters.
I mean,
Having said that, though, the stuff we've got from SS through to A, I think we've kind of nailed. To be honest, I think a lot of
yeah,
these cards are the cards that you'll probably be playing if you're playing Plundering Guild.
yeah. The like you're probably gonna be playing Loot the Body. You're probably gonna be playing Fireball. You're probably gonna be
Yeah.
playing one of these. You're probably playing one of these. I mean, except for
Yep.
this guy. He's only good in nobles.
Yep.
But he is really good at nobles. He is
Yes.
the master. He is like the masterpiece of the set of nobles that this guy's trying to be.
Yeah. I think Barony Socialite like currently could probably drop down to like top like high A, but I'm happy keeping it in S just to really drill home the fact that this guy is what makes nobles tick. And moving forward, if any more nobles come out, this is the guy that will make the deck run like like a finely tuned engine. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
I really want to drive home that fact.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to say before we close this out?
Um Not really. Again, if you see me in the tavern, please say hi. Spanishflee999. Um,
Yeah.
Always happy to have a chat. And if you've seen this, you probably have some maybe we put something in a tier that you didn't like, or
Yeah.
something you think should be a lot higher than it is. And happy to have a discussion if you see me in it in the taverns, and we can chat about what you think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's all opinion based, but we have
Yeah,
reasons for
definitely.
our opinions.
Yeah. And I
I,
hope we've discussed it and kind of given our reasoning behind it in a clear way, I guess.
yeah. Okay.
This is my hope.
Good night.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. When the next when the next guild comes out or the next faction, we'll do the same.
Yeah.